Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Actually, I might be able to, can't you? Hello? Can you hear me now? Yeah, you can hear me now. That's all right then. Actually, I might be able to, can't you? Right, invite. So let's Gmail this. I'm just going to Gmail this link to AJ, and then we're going to bring him in. He's going to tell you a bit of a story here this morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's his? Here we go. So send. So AJ, I've just sent you the link via email to join me. I've just invited a guest to come and join me, who is AJ. He's from Hollywood. What am I doing here this morning? Right, so I've just invited AJ to join me. Morning, everybody. She's doing a fantastic job. Yeah, she's very outspoken, Cassie Boo Boo. She's a good girl. She stands in the truth and the light. Hello, Carlos. I'm just waiting for. Hopefully he's got this email now. I don't know how to. Hopefully he'll get it and then he'll jump in. Let me just check. I'm all over the place this morning. How we doing, guys and girls? She's doing a good job. Yeah. So hopefully I've just sent him the email, so I should be able to bring him in once he gets the. Once he gets the link, it should pull him into this feed. I'm hoping anyway. He's a hell of a dude, let me tell you. AJ is. Look at my hair. I look like Rick Astley from the 80s. I might do a bit of Rick Astley. Did you get any sleep? I'm always it's a different time of day over there for him. I've just got him out of bed. He's a dude. He's probably quite tired. But he's a bit of a dude. So I'm just waiting for him to email me back. Join me on StreamYard. I've just sent it to Illumination. Yeah, I've just sent it to him. Oh, good mate, been listening to the Book of Jasher. Have ya? The Book of Jasher. Jasher, Maccabees, the Book of Esdras, Book of Enoch. Here we go. The Book of Jasher. Have ya? Oh, I've got to turn that down now. It's a bit loud. AJ?
Hey. How's it going?
Hey, gorgeous. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. How you doing, everybody?
Got you now, bro.
Excellent.
Yeah, so let me just make sure everyone can hear this.
Excellent.
Yeah, we got you. Right, so I can watch that on this phone, and I can turn that down so I can keep track of comments. Well, we can see the comments. I don't know if you can comment in here. Can you see the comment box, AJ?
Yeah, in the YouTube section.
Yeah.
How's it going, Carlos? Yeah, I can see everybody.
Happy days, brother. So, what time you got there, Kaz?
It is officially 6:31 a.m. We call it military time here, 24-hour time.
It's very dark. We can't see. Have you not paid the electric bill?
No, I got the lights up. I can turn it on.
Hallelujah. Let it be light.
I normally use a green screen and I can't function it on this, and I just didn't want this room in the freaking back, Mate,
it's all good. Don't worry about it. Listen, we can do this from a cowshed. We don't need to all be, I think people tune into people like us, AJ, because they want the content, they want some information, and they want to see what's going on in the world, right? So you're in America, right? You're in the good old land of USA.
Yeah, that's where I am.
And you're up with your parents at the minute?
Yeah.
Who's doing the cooking? Mum doing the cooking?
Definitely not me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet she's cooking. I bet she's going, AJ, come on, you look like you need a good meal, man. Because you know what mothers are like. They just mother hen you, don't they? Pluck you like, big.
Yeah,
she looking after you.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I'm in town, always.
Yeah. And it's how long a drive? It's about 16-hour drive, isn't it?
Well, for me, that's because I don't stop and I tend to speed a little bit, but it's generally 22 hours, 18 to 22 hours.
You're telling me you're out there breaking the law?
Oh my God. I mean, it's very, very everyone kind of goes 10, 20 miles over the speed limit when you're traveling long distance and you have to get somewhere fast, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we dole around on our road so slow at 30. Don't get me wrong. If you hit a kid at 30, they're more likely to bounce off the bumper and live to tell another tale. But half the time, people are going so slow. They're not fully paying attention. Like when you're going a bit fast, you're paying attention of all the things that are going on out and around there. Do you know what I mean? But this is like what we're going on nowadays. Ain't quite right, is it? But anyway, it is what it is. But you've only got to go 36 and a 30, and the lovely system likes to send you a little bill in the post and say that's cost you £100 for that sin. What a mess we're in, bruv. We're really in a big mess, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy times, very peculiar times to be alive at the moment. That's for sure.
Cool. Yeah. Can you see the comments coming up on your screen, AJ?
Yeah.
We've got our lovely patriot in here called Durf. He's a bit of a dude.
Nice. How you doing, Durf?
He's a dude, man. Let me tell you, proper dude, bit like yourself. So you come to the light side, AJ. You said you can tell people. So I'm going to go and have a pee in a minute. I've been in my gym working out. Do you know, I've just pulled that punch bag off the ceiling. I broke the bracket. I've had to put it up again. But I'll give you a brief introduction to AJ, guys and girls, and then he can have the floor for a while, and I should be back. But AJ was you in like the music bit, and you was hanging around in that kind of clique, weren't you? But well, you see,
just as a kid, I wanted to make it. So I was attending competitions and stuff in the field of acting and whatnot, like international presentation of performers, and I was getting recruited by agencies to do little commercials as a kid and stuff. That was my into the industry, like as a child, and in that age, you don't really understand the way the world really works, but you pursue whatever fascinates you or motivates you to continue on. So that's kind of how I got involved with that kind of stuff at a really young age.
So it's a good job Jimmy Savile weren't in your country at the time.
I'm sure there's plenty like him, and that's the scary part, and that's kind of why I'm doing this. It's like even when I joined Masonry, I joined it in Plymouth, United Kingdom, under the York Rite, and I was 18 at the time when I did it.
Wow.
And it's that was all on behest on the advice of people that were my mentors down the line of what I was studying at the time and stuff. So it's just, I definitely wouldn't say that I've come over to the light side, because I never really think I left. I'm just I'm 27 years old, but it's just, I think I was very misguided, and in many ways God kind of chose this life for me, because it's like an up close, testimonial. I've seen some things where it's undeniable that Lucifer is in fact control of this world, and the principalities and flesh of earth do in fact belong to something supernatural. And when you look at the organized, evil in this world that is controlling and manipulating and allocating its resources, it's just undeniable that there's something going on that, is a lot more than meets the eye. And that's the whole game. They want to divide and conquer us. The elite want to convince us that we're each other's enemies and we're to blame, the whites and the blacks and the browns and the yellows and the and it's just it's disgusting, really, because we all have one enemy, and it's a very short percentage of people. It's a satanic royal elite that is manipulating the world, and that's kind of why I'm doing this. I'm doing it for the kids, and I'm doing this so that I can put myself out there and be like, hey, I live this stuff. I've seen it. For all the people that say there's no proof and evidence of these things, I'm not a pioneer in any way, shape, or form. I'm just another kid amongst God knows how many people that have been in this industry and understand it up close and have seen how people operate. And it's just, guys, when you really, at the end of the day, look at this stuff, none of it makes sense according to the official narrative. Nothing really adds up when you start to take what the official stories are and compare them and listen to what people's testimonials are, nothing makes sense, right? But when you start realizing, yeah, Paul Hart, exactly, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people that God doesn't exist, and in the process himself, really convincing everyone that he himself is a fairy tale too, because there is no judgment and there is no comparison to, for example, like Hitler and Jesus. There is no comparison. They were both just amoebas on a rock floating across the universe. That's what they want us to think. They want us to think that there's no circumstantial consequence for our decisions here on earth, for our actions that we're choosing to take every single day. And if they can have us scared and freaked out and then thinking that the other race is going to take our race's whatever little, like, I mean, you're seeing it in England right now, even though there's definitely evidence of a psychological operation going on in the United Kingdom where you're having an oppression of Anglo-Saxon culture, and it's intensified by the government's advocacy of it. But it's like, I mean, that what's going on in England right now is not natural. There's somebody that is benefiting off of making Anglo-Saxons in England feel like their country is being taken from them before their eyes. And it's causing the Anglo-Saxons to be riled up. And I mean, here in the US, it's between the whites and the blacks. In England, it's the whites and the Muslims. And so what I'm seeing is it's just like the devil is distracting all of us. And that's kind of, I'll rant forever because this stuff never stops, but that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I met Dave. And I really think there's a higher purpose for all of us trying to enlighten each other. Will we change the world and save the planet from the Antichrist kingdom? I don't think so, but at least we're doing our best to fight this.
Right. Oh, Anglo-Saxons, that's why we used to use that. Whenever anyone used to cheese us off years ago, we'd go out and give them some of that. Now, that comes from the archer, because when the archer used to pull back on his bow, and I've got a bow, what they did was they went around chopping everyone's 2 fingers off on their arm that they used to pull their bow with, so they couldn't fire arrows no more. So that's where that all comes from, Anglo-Saxon times. A lot of the stuff that goes on in Parliament, they still speak it in French. All the acts and statutes, their corporate policies, they're not laws. They pass them, they say yes or no, they agree to them or decline them all in French. Which is very, there's a lot of stuff goes on in this country that people don't realise. And I sometimes I don't blame them for not paying attention. We come into this world, we just want to live a life. We want it to be easy. We want to try and stay out of trouble. But I think the time is now where there's too much suppression going on. So we're waking up. AJ, do you want to, while I go and have a quick pit stop, want to tell them maybe give a big shout out to all your Mason mates? That'd be a really cool move. And tell people sort of like what the Masonry is all about, why you joined it. And like, look, people have invited me into the Masons many times, but I've just and there are a lot of people out there that are convinced I am a Freemason, I guess because I've done well in life and I do well and I've got quite a strong soul. But trust me, I've got no allegiance or any affiliation, or I've never been sworn in. I've never had to show me breast or me kneecap. I know what it's all about. I know the Masonic handshakes. There's a lot about the Masons I know, and the Templars. I got invited to go to a Templar evening in London. There is 1,700 Templars in this country right now. And one of my friends who's a Templar lives in Bolton. He said to me about 2 years ago, he said, Dave, he said, I've got to be honest. He said, I think you're part of our family. He said, but you embarrass us. He said, because you stand up regardless. You don't care what's coming your way. He said, you make a lot of us feel a bit shameful for not speaking out and coming out earlier. He said, but we are preparing to now what 1,700 Templars are going to do, I don't know. But apparently they're all prepared. I know they're going to get their swords out and their shields could be a bit messy. Who knows? Yeah. So I'm just going to have a quick pit stop. I'm going to mute out and I'm going to let my gorgeous man AJ here from what part of America are you in right now?
At the moment,
the defense might come round.
Well, at the moment, I'm where my parents are retired, which is Northwest Washington. It's literally like England. I like to say the weather's very similar, very green, temperature as well. It's right next to Canada. It's just a straight line above Los Angeles, about 1,000 miles north. That's currently where I am. But so Masonry. Oh man, where do I start? The masonry goes back to the early 15 or 1600s, I believe, in England, where it was, created by people who were basically architects, builders, and that's stonemasons. Although there is, in fact, evidence of, I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Assassin's Creed, but there is a large a large group of people in this world that believe that in Turkey, in Islamabad in Turkey, there was an assassin's order that was connected to what became masonry in England. And so the foundation of masonry actually was there, and that's where you get the story of the first Grand Master Mason who was attacked by his own peers, his students, and the idea of masonry and power and balance. It stems back to that story where the Grand Master Mason was struck in the head with a rock and killed by one of his students. Yeah, Hiram Abif, David Wilson. Thank you. The name was losing my mind. And so it's a very esoteric thing, and people have their opinions about it. I personally didn't experience anything negative until I started to climb ranks and be around people where I realized that this was a society where it's kind of like the military, where when you're a platoon soldier, you don't actually ask why you're going to war. You just take the command and the order and you go for it. The lieutenant tells your platoon what to do and you go. You're trained to fight. You don't ask why you're fighting. And so it's the same thing from Grandmaster Masonry all the way down to, from the 33rd degree down to, like, for example, where I stopped climbing and stopped going back to lodge meetings was the 14th degree Knight of the Eastern Star. That was the last rank that I had climbed, and it's basically a protector of the Eastern Order, which is the sisters, the females, the Masonic people that are females because they can't be Masons. And these kind of things, it's like in small towns, guys, in small cities, I doubt Masons are up to anything nefarious. I really do. I could be wrong about that. But what I'm seeing is that the majority of these Masons are actually ignorant to what's going on at the highest levels of politics and government and corporate level agenda and stratagem. I don't think that's a real word, but strategizing how they're going to, continue to expand their control and legacy amongst the world. And so these Masons, that I did run into that were very adamant about using masonry, the network of masonry, to engage in their agenda. It was definitely evident that there was people that were using masonry to get their agenda done. And so I started looking into that, and I was like, who are these people? What could that be? Blah, 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 blah. And then, that's when you find Adam Weishaupt. You find out that at around the same time the United Nations was founded, or excuse me, the United States of America was founded in 1776 in Bavaria, in Germany, there was a man who created the Order of the Illuminati, which was an order that would argue against the church in regards to science. That science, although is not debunking the church, science would just simply like to update the church. And therein the monarchs and the Pope did not like that, so they had the Bavarian Illuminati shunned, because Weishaupt was a professor and he knew a lot of smart people. And something happened where they had to go underground, and nobody really heard about them ever again. But rumor has it that they infiltrated the highest ranks of masonry. And when you look into Weishaupt and you look into the Knights Templar and you look into all these organizations, that it all goes back to the Bible, guys. They're trying to control this planet and wage war against the Creator. And that's literally what's going to happen. If you read Revelations, if you look into these ancient manuscripts, these books, you start to realize more and more that they're actually scientifically accurate to everything that's going on in your current state of the world, of the current state of affairs. And to me, as a kid who went to Catholic school most of his life and disregarded the Bible, this kind of stuff is it's more fascinating than any movie or game I could play. It's just, real life is the most fascinating thing ever once you wake up and see that there's a supernatural battle. There's a battle between the spirits going on, and we're literally in the middle of it all. And just because there is a battle in the middle and we're in the middle of it all does not give us the right to do anything wrong and not be accountable for it. Lucifer is so intelligent that he will never be responsible for the sins that we commit. He's simply tempting us. He's doing God's dirty work. You have to understand that he was once the angel of music. Think about that. Hollywood, all this music we think too, right?
Yeah.
So it's the Lucifer is not on God's bad side, and if he is, God's gonna work that out with Lucifer down the line. God is God, but what we need to remember is joining and aligning with Lucifer is failing the test. God is looking to see who's loyal to him without his presence. It's like a parent that walks out of a room and the child starts masturbating or using drugs or whatever. The child isn't going to masturbate or use drugs in front of the parent because it has to look good in front of the parent. It doesn't want the parent to think it's a bad child, right? So these are the things that God is doing. In my humble opinion, he is using Lucifer to see if we are truly a worthy creation of his. And I believe we are. I just think that people are so distracted. It's just, it's like, for example, me talking about this stuff right now, there are 22 people watching this stream, and there already have to be, like, you guys already have to be so enlightened to take the words I'm saying and actually understand them, because people
Amen.
are so unawake. People are so unaware that they think God talk is bigot talk. They think if you're talking about God, you're from the yesteryear. You're not a modern person. It's quite frightening. They're normalizing pedophilia, and I have nothing against gays or lesbians or transgenders, but there's certain things that are occurring that when you look at the Bible and you look at the book of Revelations, it's literally what's happening right now. It is literally what's happening right now. And then at that point, you see that this book is offered in jails all around the world. It's offered in hospitals on your deathbed. There's something about the word of God where even the devil himself, the prince of earth and the principalities of flesh and air, he cannot prevent you from getting a copy of the Bible when you're about to die or when you're in jail. There's no force.
Everybody that I've ever met will deny the word. They won't get into it. But the minute that they're 2 hours from death, 20 minutes from death, 2 weeks, they all say, I need to see a vicar. I need to see a priest. I need to get blessed, because it's the unknown. They're all coming to, when they're young, they think they're invincible. I've been there. I've done it. As you get older, you start to realize, soul protection for me, AJ, is where we need to be. If we can protect our souls and stand in the light and walk through the fire, then we're going to have good times. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. And I have to answer this question because it's a great point. And, this is why I believe in God so much, because it's all about the chemistry and the vibrations. And when I talk to people like Dave, the things he says trigger certain synapses in my brain that fire off, ideas where it's just like, oh, I got to talk about this. And so Jesus Jones, Jesus Jones, there is definitely factual evidence that states there's a Rh negative blood type in this world, and it generally belongs to the monarchs of the world that have been inbreeding since beginning of time. And these are the people like Elizabeth Bathory, who bathed in the blood of youth, innocent, Vladimir Dracul, who bathed in the blood of the youth and the innocent, that believed they could preserve their lives through putting fear in their victim and killing them and then drinking their blood. Adrenochrome, this stuff goes back way before all of these things. Now, we think it's happening now. It's just the internet that's got this stuff in the light. This stuff has been going on since Babylon. And so there's truth to that, Jesus. There is, but you have to look into the genealogy, and you have to look into the history. And then when you start to look into the aborigines of this world, you start to look in how in India they say that the Nagins are a thing, that the snake people are real, that there are people who can transform into humans that are actually snake-like creatures. In Australia, the Aborigines also believe in that. There's multiple Aborigines all around Europe that believe the royal families of their country are not human. If you look at the foundation of ancient Sumer, where the cradle of civilization is, the Anunnaki, the language ancient Sumer, in ancient Sumeria, they spoke Sumerian. Anunnaki means those from heaven that came, right? Because back then they didn't understand what the sky was made up of or whatever, so they just called above heavens. So the Anunnaki was literally it's on record that these people were, they didn't have sewer systems, they weren't upright, hairless, bipedal creatures. They were more like ape-like cavemen, ad hominem, kind of like Lucy the ape kind of human beings, where they were more hairy, more crouched over, and less sophisticated and intellectual. And in their tablets, it says that when the Anunnaki came down, they hybridized the race with their DNA to mine gold on this planet. Now, hear me out here, because this is a far-fetched theory, but there's credence there, and that's what makes all of this stuff even scarier when you think about the fallen angels and the Nephilim and Satan and his serpent seed being injected into the elite of the world. They needed to mine gold, so because of the atmosphere of the earth and the way it was, they thought it was easier to literally enhance the DNA of the ape-like creatures on the surface of the earth, and then convince them that, you know, we're creations of these gods, and to serve these gods we have to mine this gold. And there's movies in Hollywood about this that really pre-program you and stuff, and like Cowboys and Aliens, where literally the plot of the movie in Cowboys and Aliens is the aliens are mining gold. And so, you know, you look into that and you're like, oh God, that's such a stupid theory. Gold. Well, gold is the only conductor of electricity. Now, you might be thinking that's not true. Mercury conducts electricity. Copper conducts electricity. Those all have forms of gold in them. Any kind of metal, any kind of wire that all these laptops and phones we use, they all have miniature forms of gold in them. Copper and mercury literally are made of that material so they can conduct electricity. Actual gold, copper, like you know, guitar people that play guitars and stuff, they prefer gold aux wires because pure gold is the best conductor, right? And so the actual consideration that there was an extraterrestrial race or interdimensional race that wanted to mine gold to enhance its you know, exploration of the universe, or to mine gold for whatever, God knows, whatever reason, it starts to make so much more sense. And then you see that within 10 years, these civilizations in Babylon, they had sewer systems, they had law, they had order, they had forms of governance that never existed before. And this is all within a span of 200 years that Babylon was able to create this kind of infrastructure. And that's where you had the Tower of Nimrod. You know, the Bible talks about that, where Nimrod tried to build the tower so high he could get up to God. You know, you have the same forces doing the same thing post World War II under Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl, where for some odd reason they're shooting nuclear weapons into the atmosphere of the earth, you know. And then people like Werner von Braun on his gravestone have quotes out of the Bible that say, like, you know, the Lord's handiwork showeth through the firmament. So, you know, I saw this comment from an account named The Flat Earth, water conducts electricity. There's so much stuff that it's like you have to look back and see, like, what are we even told? What we're told, is it even true? You know, when you start looking into so many things, it's almost hard to believe anything we've been taught in school. And when you start peeling back the orange, you know, the layers on the orange, the peeling it back, it's just it's crazy, you know. And so the reptilian, Dave, without ranting for so much longer, I'm so sorry.
I'm enjoying it.
Thank you. The reptilian connection to Satan is so evident, you know. Let me tell you a crazy story, and I'm sure if my mother, as she watches my show, and I'm probably going to post this on my channel, she's going to hate when I talk about this, because she doesn't, you know.
AJ, before you,
yeah,
was you taught this knowledge, or is this something that you've just got?
No,
did the Mason tell you all this? Did the Masonic teach you all this?
This is everything that I was taught. I mean, I was taught, like, I'll get into it later in this conversation, but I was taught certain things that normal people just aren't taught in Masonry.
Where do they keep this information? Where do they store and keep this information? Is it in the catacombs?
So no, it's most of it's in the Vatican. Most of it is in the Vatican.
In the Vatican, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, the catacombs are, from what I remember, is they're graves underground in France, right? Or am I confusing that with?
I think under the Vatican, where they keep all the vaults, I think they call them the catacombs. I think.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, well, yeah, but if that's the case, then that's exactly where I'm talking. The Vatican preserves some of the world's most intellectual documents and age-old documents. And they see even the Pope the white Pope doesn't have access to it. The Black Pope, Ignatius, you know, people are afraid to say his name because they think he's such a powerful black magic like wizard. The Black Jesuit Army. These are the kind of people that have access to that library, and these are the people that you'll probably never hear about when we discuss things like the Illuminati and stuff, because the real controlling elite, like the Pacers and the Jesuits and stuff, they're never discussed. You know, it's always the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, and these people are involved, but you know, never get it twisted, guys. If you can find them online and look them up, they're not the biggest family.
Yeah,
That's not
true.
you know. So here's the story, and then I'll talk to you about everything I've learned, any kind of questions you have in masonry and stuff, because they teach you psychological tactics, the 48 laws of power. You know, and the 48 laws of power is, you can Google it, it's available for everyone, but that just gives you an idea of the kind of methodology that is taught to climb the ranks of bureaucracy in this world, which ultimately breeds men with intentions to destroy each other. I mean, let's be honest. You know, when you're creating a world where everything is what I say is not what I mean, and what I do is not what I think, and you know, everything's subliminal and all this stuff. These things are what these people thrive off. People in the occult, people in secret societies, they thrive off of symbolism. They thrive off of hiding things in plain sight. But anyway, so the story of the reptilians, right? The story of the Nogs. If you follow the royal family and you follow the Aborigines that talk about the reptilians and the snake-like, serpent-like families that control the earth, it literally goes from Babylon to the rulers of Macedonia, to the rulers of Rome, to the rulers of Britannia, to the rulers in the United States. Because out of our 45 presidents, 44 of them are direct descendants of European aristocracy. And one could even argue, even though Trump's family is somewhat self-made, Drumpf is a German last name. So, you know, they weren't aristocrats by any means in Germany, but they definitely, you know, are of a class that could be considered not normal people, you know. So it's just, you start to see that there is no equality and free competition in this world when it comes to political leadership and corporate leadership. It's a very divisive and very controlled game at the top, and only certain people get more success than other companies, and that's why you see such a small allocation of control to such a large amount of resources, such a large amount of money. It doesn't make any sense why the world is in the situation it is, unless you look at these prophecies, unless you look at this stuff. And you know, to me, one of the greatest examples of the reptilian race being real is what is said to have been a curse on my mother's side, which is a curse of the Nog. So in India, and my mom hates this story because she doesn't like talking about this stuff, but I think it would be doing an injustice to my uncle, God rest his soul, if I didn't talk about it, because he's gone now. He's not with us anymore, you know. And he was the youngest in my mother's sibling family. There was 8 of them, you know, 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and he was the youngest. And my mom's the youngest out of the girls, so he was younger than her. And there was no reason for him to go before everybody, you know, but he did. And without, you know, talking about it much to respect him, this guy had a terrible life from the get-go. Like, for some reason, everyone else was married and settled down, but he just was not able to do it. And to this day, everyone says, well, it was because he didn't take care of himself. It was because he chose to gamble, or it was because he chose to sleep around with too many women and not settle down. Those are all his own doings. But I found out from visiting India a lot from one of my older relatives that this Swami, you know, these people in India will go to these like gurus and swamis that can, like, for example, in my birth manuscript, I am not supposed to touch alcohol. It's very bad luck for me. But in good luck, if I work in metal, if I work in the field of steel, apparently I can make a lot of money. I can be very happy in my life. I just don't understand what the fuck that means. Like, how do I get into model? Like, I could be selling cars. I could be, you know, I could get into the metal trade, and I don't even know. But, you know, so these are the kind of things in India where it's like, people in India are, you could have a billionaire living a mile away from a caste of untouchables, and there will never be any quarrel or French Revolution, because the Indians are so entrenched with spirituality and the understanding of the universe that over there it's common sense that this stuff is happening. So there's these little swamis and gurus and stuff that will literally charge you a fee and tell you about your karmatic energy and all this stuff. And somebody had told my family that my great-great-grandfather had put a curse on one boy in every male generational line in our family. And it's very scary for everyone in my generation because there's everyone that's not married right now. We're all like, oh, who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be? Because I'm not married yet. I don't have kids. I'm 27 now, and so the idea is that at least one man in every generation will not be happy and not be able to have a family. So where does this come from? Well, my great great grandfather in the state of Punjab. I'm sure you guys are very very familiar with Sikhs. We're all over in England. Very agricultural people. So my great grandfather would always go out to the farm and maintain his agricultural land, and there would be snakes there. But generally, when you run into snakes, they're not together. And so whenever you see two king cobras, which is a very famous snake in the world, it's found in India. Whenever you see two king cobras kind of intertwining when they're traveling, they're considered to be nags. That's what they say in India. They say that no coupled snakes are normal. If a couple of king cobras are traveling together, they're noggins, they're reptilians. Literally what a noggin means. They are reptilian humanoids. And you're not supposed to hurt them, you're not supposed to attack them, you're supposed to just let them go on. They're somewhat considered gods. I mean, they're worshipped in some Hindu villages. And so my great grandfather, being the young boy that he was, you get cocky, the ego, the satanic. Dave and I were talking about it before the show. I guess he thought he was hot shit, and so he took a freaking scythe and chopped the head off of one of the king cobras. And the other king cobra, which I believe was the female, because why else would the curse be on the male? She like turned around, and king cobras, they kind of rise up and do the thing. You'll see the snake charmers in India doing it. And she gave this like snarl and like kind of like didn't attack him, but like did this thing where it was like, I fucking hate you, like you just killed like my lover or whatever. And he didn't think it was whatever, get the fuck out of here, like I'll kill you too if you come back in my farm. And so that was the end of that. Well, he didn't die a good death. It was a painful scary death. When he passed away, my mom still tells me he was grabbing onto everybody. His eyes were really wide, and I mean, you expect when people to pass away, they're in a peaceful situation. My great grandfather was not in a peaceful situation. He was tormented. He didn't want to go. He was grabbing onto everyone's clothes, almost begging for them not to go. It was like where he was going was very scary. And so that, as much as I bring that story up with my parents and stuff, they hate talking about it because they think it's so stupid, and it shouldn't be advocated because it's not good for your mental health. But and then my uncle, the next generation, right, and now this generation, we've yet to see which cousin is going to fall short of the legacy of recreation and happiness. And so this is my encounter with the reptilian, the force of the reptilians. You have evidence of people like Philip Schneider talking about DUMBs in the United States, deep underground military bases, where there are children being trafficked to these reptilians for the source of food. Basically, they look at us like cattle, like chicken. Yeah, is any of this stuff true at the end of the day? I don't know. I would not be a truth seeker if I simply just blindly believed in it all. But I can say that there is so much evidence and symbolism that indicates a reptilian elite is controlling this world. And you look at the royal seals of the royal families of the world. You look at just in general, like Alfa Romeo. The logo on Alfa Romeo is half of a flag of England, which is a cross, a red cross, and the other half is a snake with a human in its mouth. If you guys have access to Google right now on your cell phones, look it up. The Alfa Romeo logo is a snake eating a human. These people are so in your face, man. Yeah, Alfa Romeo, the Alfa Romeo logo. It's a fucking snake eating a human being, and no one ever talks about these things. But yeah, I mean, it's madness, guys. And really, it boils down to, I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day. I could talk about the things I've learned in masonry, how their karmatic energy is not affected nearly as much because of how they put everything in plain sight. Like, for example, if I was telling Jeremy Poole this on his show, if I was going to rob Dave Witcher and his family, and I just did it without telling him, and I killed him, and I killed his family, and I took whatever he had in his house and I left, that karmatic energy is so negative on me because he didn't see it coming. Now, if I called Kent Police and I called David Witcher and I told them both I'm coming on this date to kill you, to kill your family, and to take everything you have, Kent Police knows it's coming. You know it's coming. And
Yeah.
you think it's a joke. Kent Police thinks it's a joke. False alarm. And I come and do it anyway. The karmatic energy is much lower. It is much lower because I told you what I was doing. So these elites know exactly what they're doing. Yes, these elites know exactly what they're doing. They are putting it in our movies. They're putting it in our TV. They're putting it in our music. They're putting it in our food. They're putting it in the very orifice of society that they exist. It's in our faces. We're pre-programmed through our movies, and then events take place, and we're not that freaked out because we've been watching it in our movies for so long. And the reason why I say that is because someone in the comments has been talking about The Arrivals, which was a film that a Middle Eastern student group did a long time ago when I was in high school, and now you can't even find anything like that online. And there were so many truth seekers out there back in the day before all this censorship took over the internet. Now it's just you can't trust Google or YouTube to give you an honest search for anything. But guys, it's so much easier on them down the line of punishment and accountability when we are willfully ignorant, when we are willing to be in denial because we don't want to be wrong our entire life about what reality was, what the confounds of reality actually were. And that's my goal here. Is I'm not here to wake up the old people who are in denial. I still have people in my family that are in denial about what's going on, and it's heartbreaking, but I can see it's more of an ego buster for them. They don't want to be told that they've been wrong this whole time, even if it makes sense to them. Everything they've done in their life, all their accomplishments, they really are moot if they didn't know all this was going on. So these Gen Zs, these Gen Xers, it's our duty as millennials to protect them and to show them that we're willing to die on this hill for you guys. We know what's going on in this world, and we might not be able to change the outcome, but it's like Dave Witcher says, we are the light, and they can't stop the light. The darkness is defined by light. Therefore, we must be here, and we will continue to speak.
Amen. What do you make of this? There's a lot of people talking about the lack of adrenochrome getting to a lot of these major celebrities. If we look at, I'm just taking Johnny Depp as an example on the screen. Can you see that, AJ?
God, that is frightening. That's some horror movie shit right there, man. You want to talk about a vampire not getting enough blood?
Is that what? So look, he's not just the odd one out. We've got
Tom Hanks, Ellen.
Yeah, Celine Dion being one of the worst. I'm going to get her up as well in a second. So if we look at this two here, I mean, Johnny Depp a little while ago was advertising his latest aftershave, Sauvage, on the. And by the way, that aftershave is beautiful. It's a lovely fragrant scent. It's beautiful. But he looked pretty good there.
It's probably got adrenochrome in it, Dave.
Well, yeah. Well, good Jesus.
Well, that's what it is, right? Those foundation products, all those high-end makeup products and stuff. They're starting to find out there's fetal matter in a lot of these products, man. There's theories, David, that there was fetal matter in our sodas, in pop sodas.
I don't drink them. I only drink juices. I don't drink nothing fizzy. So
sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's okay. Let's get how do you spell Celine? My head's not working.
Celine space DION.
Latest picture. So let's try and get.
Before you continue, I just want to say really quickly, Johnny Depp, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, it's a movie based on Hunter S. Thompson, who was one of the most influential journalists of his time and very satanic, very openly satanic. And in that movie, he talks about adrenochrome. So, to see these people, oh God, look at her, she looks like death. To see these people like this, it's so crazy because adrenochrome exists. It becomes extremely addicting for these people. That they can't live without it. It's just like any other thing. It's like heroin. It's like crack cocaine. It's like methamphetamines. All these hard drugs that people can't get off and have intense withdrawals. This is what adrenochrome is. And look at these people. These are multimillionaires. I mean, look at what Dave's showing us right now. Look at this. This is crazy.
Look how she did look.
Jesus Christ.
So we're seeing a similarity now between, I don't know how old Johnny Depp is, but I don't suppose there's much between him and Celine. Now, their demise over the last few years is pretty mirrored image of we've seen Johnny Depp go from a gorgeous hunk of a chap, revered by many of us over the world as a just too good looking for good looking.
Yeah.
And now he looks like a bag of spanners, and so just sadly does Celine. I say sadly because as a decent Christian, I have to have compassion on all.
Yeah.
Sadly, judge lest you be judged. But nonetheless, we've got her here, very pretty, stunning young lady, and now we're seeing weight loss. A lot of people are putting this now down to cancer, but I mean, she's just basically a skeleton walking around in a skin suit, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, it's so scary. And when people want to talk about this stuff not being real, when people say that these are conspiracy theories and stuff, it's so frustrating for someone that's intellectual and actually looks into these things. Because hey, you don't have to look at these Hollywood stars, guys. You don't have to look. There's historical evidence of this stuff happening thousands of years ago. Countess Elizabeth Bathory of Hungary, right, was a royal member of the elite, and she would have a grooming school for duchesses and princesses of their kingdoms and dukedoms, and they would come to her home and she would groom them on how to have sex with a man, how to talk, how to eat, how to dress, how to behave. This is the age of corsets when women couldn't even fricking breathe because they had this fricking thing constricting their stomach inside their dress. I mean, guys, when you look back in these times and how blatant the evil was, and now how it's more under the table, Elizabeth Bathory was taking the servant maids of these royal girls that were coming and making sure that they didn't go back home, keep bleeding them out, scaring them, feeding them, bleeding them out until they had no more blood in them and were absolutely useless. Blood. Bathing in the blood. Look this stuff up, guys. Bathing in the blood, drinking in the blood, right? She genuinely thought she was preserving her youth. One might think it was a crazy psychotic obsession, but here's where it gets even scarier. When it was found out that a lot of servant maids weren't coming back with the princesses and the duchesses, the dukedoms and the principalities, the kingdoms, they sent their armies to Bathory's kingdom in Hungary. And as Elizabeth Bathory was in fact caught doing what I just told you guys, and because she was one of their own reptilian royals, they couldn't kill her, so what they did was they locked her in a tower for the rest of her life.
Really?
Yes. Look it up, guys. There's a movie in Hollywood that came out. It's quite cheesy, but when I was a kid it came out, and it's about a video game with her in it, and the game starts to kill you in real life. Guys, they're so in our face with this stuff. It's crazy. And so, where it gets even scarier is the University of Harvard has put out multiple studies from the 90s up to now that young mice, when withdrawn from blood and having that blood injected into older mice, the cardiovascular system increases within days.
Wow.
Within days. Now, what do we do with mice before we like when we test medicine and stuff, we test it on mice first, right? It's actually been proven that mice and rats and stuff are more similar to our genome symptomatic reactions to chemicals. That's why they don't use monkeys and apes and stuff. They use mice. And that in itself also debunks this official narrative that science gives us of evolution and stuff. Because if mice are closer to our DNA, and if we test things on mice and it works more accurately on us, how does that make any sense in regards to the theory of evolution that we all came from apes, right? So there's so much weird stuff going on. And thank you, Joel Key. That means a lot, because this is what I'm doing this for, is to wake people up and give them that feeling that they're watching something special. But it's just, guys, the trafficking of children is not because a bunch of elites are pedophiles and they like touching little children. It's so much deeper and darker than that. It's the youth life force. It's the innocence of the blood inside of the youth. And if you can Kevin Shipp, Dr. Robert David Steele, all former CIA officers now exposing this stuff, whistleblowing these things. Before them, Ted Gunderson, Philip Schneider, all these people, John Todd, that tried to tell you guys about this stuff. It's out there from the 80s, from the 70s up to now, where they're saying that not only is the military and the government being used as scapegoats for these scenarios, but there are actual corporations in this world that are like Wayfair. You know, people are shocked that this is the thing. Wayfair, like, think about how much this is going on in the world, guys. One child is worth over $1 million in the organ trafficking game. One child, all those organs, over $1 million. Think about that for a second. I'll let you talk a little bit, Dave, because I just, I ran.
Yeah, I know it is. It is. I mean, we know it goes on. We certainly do. Julie C, she's saying, "What a great live! Thank you." Yes, excellent live. I'm glad I didn't miss it. Make sure you share. Yeah, please share, guys. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, AJ's very illuminated. He's obviously come up through the ranks, and I find him quite a fascinating individual, in fairness. And his openness and frankness is inspiring, and I always, like to thank him for all of his time and his efforts. And obviously he's up with his family at the moment, just enjoying themselves, having a bit of family time and stuff. But for him, I said to him earlier before we come on live, to know what we know and to do what we do sometimes can be seen as a bit of a curse. But we're here to do this. We're here to bring about these illuminated times so that we can be a benefit for our brothers and sisters around the world. I don't do this for anything other than to want to benefit you, because once you've got information and data, then you can make your own informed decision of what goes on in the world. So absolutely amazing. And the fact that he's a Freemason, and it's so funny. The stuff that he must have been taught and what he knows is just, it's out there. I've just done my research.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's they taught me these things because they never thought I was going to abandon their agenda of abandon ship. And so now it's like I have a lot of people that are trying to sabotage me because of what I'm saying, and trying to say that I'm not even a Mason, or I'm not even who I say I am, or I'm this and I'm that. And it's been, David knows more than anyone, because he's been kind of been there to mentor me and help me out and stuff. And it's just like, guys, this stuff is real as real gets. 800,000 people, FBI official statement, 800,000 children go missing in this country every year. Does that make any sense? India and China have over 2 billion people, and I go there all the time, and I'll tell you, if one little child goes missing in a village, people will lose their shit. So these arguments that the census programs in those countries are not good, so they probably have more kids getting kidnapped. And then also, I don't know what they call it in England, David, but here we have Amber Alerts that you get on your phone. Your phone starts ringing off when a kid gets kidnapped. And so people will be like, well, a lot of those cases are, a dad taking his kids away from the moms, and the moms calling the police. Okay. And, it's like my master Eddie Bravo says, if that's the case, if, let's say, 400,000 of those cases are domestic violence situations, there's still 400,000 children missing and never coming back. And you walk into your local Asda's and there's a photo of them there. No one really ever cares or looks twice. It's like, Dave,
that's the sad part about it.
And what are we going to do about it, Dave? Like, what are we going to do? This is why I come to you all the time. It's like, I look for answers from you, man. What are we going to do, Dave?
Well, we're going to take back control. We're going to take back our country. We're going to shine so much light on the darkness. There's no choice but for them to yield. We are prophesied in the end times. In Revelation, it says that in the end times, and the end times ain't nothing to be scared of, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, it's time for a different earth. It's time for 1,000 years of peace. It does say that there are 144,000 of God's souls scattered around the earth. Now, 144,000 out of 9 billion, that's just true fact. So I'm someone that considers myself to be part of that 144,000, and we are connecting worldwide now as well, even with my funky haircut. We've got, it is just what it is. But we've got Jesse Perez Casanova, South African guy, standing up. We've got the warriorcalls.com, Christopher James in America. I think we're at a point now where we're really starting to be heard and we're really starting to resonate. And if I was part of the darkness right now, all I have to say to them people is, come home to the light, man.
Amen.
Come home. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop dealing in this darkness, because you are putting your soul in so much peril. You've really got no understanding, unless you want to go and burn in a hell of fire. But if you want to actually survive and make sure your soul, because ladies and gentlemen, you're all just bodies, you're just souls rolling around. People say to me, Dave, do you think there's a spirit world? I said, well, there's a spirit stood in front of me. And they go, what? I say, you're a spirit in a vessel. You've just been given this spacesuit. It's like a spacesuit in NASA. If you go out into space and you get a leak, you die. It's the same here. If someone stabs you, you get a leak, you die. Your blood's blue, it only goes red when it hits the oxygen and oxygenates or oxidizes. So people, this is just a spacesuit. So for me, and I've always understood ever since a young child, that the survival of the soul and the protection and preservation of the soul is so important. And if we give up all of our materialism and stop looking at nice houses, nice cars as being, and I guarantee everybody in this world that goes out, you could buy a Maserati, you could buy a Ferrari, you could be so enthralled in that euphoria that you're getting this new bit of kit. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, once you've had that Ferrari a month, to you, it's an old banger, because you've had it. You've satisfied your lust for that need. I don't satisfy myself through lustful needs for things of this world anymore. Yeah. I get my lustful needs for things that are on a higher plane, and I will see that. Trust me, I really will. Mm-hmm. And I pray for everyone. I pray for people so much that they start to resonate, and they do. Now, I have people contact me all the time saying, Dave, I've just stumbled across you. I feel different. I'm not sure why I'm feeling like this. Can you shed some light on it? Now, I don't have the answers to all the questions, but I have a good inner standing of myself, and we're just touching people. And what we're doing is we're connecting people all around the world. And we now have people in our fraternity that are knocking this out of the park. When you see the Casanova show and what he does for a living, he's a tech guy, he does computer systems. His videos are off the charts. They're getting hundreds of thousands of views. So I was always told that after my near-death experiences that the things I would talk about will manifest. They will come true. And we will see these. And I know that to be a fact. I know that we are coming into illuminated time. So anyone that's operating in darkness, whether you work in the system, you work in the police, if you're doing nasty things to people, please, I ask you and implore you to check your soul and resonate with, are you doing the right thing? Now, I had a guy drop some stuff off here last year from Parcel Force, and he looked at me and he went, I know you. I went, no, you don't. I said, we never met before. He said, no, I do. He said, your voice. He said, it's your voice. He said, I know. I went, you don't, mate. I said, we never met. And he went, you're Dave Witcher. Well, my mate was there and we was going to golf, and he looked at me, he went, what's going on here? And I says, I don't know. So anyways, Parcel Force guy says to me, his name's Andy Nuttall. He said, Dave, I watch you all the time, mate. He said, and this was clarity for me and confirmation, because we all need revelation and we all need confirmation. And he said to me, he said, I was in the army. He said, I left the army. He said, and I went working for Border Force. He said, I was doing things to people that I wished I wasn't. He said, but I was going along with it. He said, I watched you and you touched my soul. I had to stop doing what I was doing. I resigned. He said, now I work for Parcel Force. I said, well, you seem very happy. Do you feel better? He went, I feel amazing. He said, but it was only you and what you were saying and the way you said it that made me check myself. Mate, talk about humbled me. I had a tear in my eye. He gave me a big hug and he said, I'll watch you later when you go live. Now, my live feed, strangely enough, comes live again on Facebook, I think tomorrow or Tuesday on the 22nd. I've just had a ban for 90 days. Facebook deplatformed me last year. I had close to 17,000 people and my live feeds were getting mega views. My friend Jamie Freeman, he's got a YouTube channel. He's the same. He had almost 1,000 people watching him at once, because Facebook does, people ping on Facebook all the time. It's a quicker medium than this somewhat. And they deplatformed him because he got to that golden number of 1,000 viewers. They went, no, we're not having this. He probably got more viewers watching his stuff than the BBC and Channel 4 at the best of times. So, and what we're seeing, AJ, is we're seeing a gravitation and a navigate away from the mainstream tabloids, media and thing, and you're seeing people all getting their information from social media. It's fantastic, man. It's fantastic.
You're completely right, and I'm sorry. There's so much I always love to add on to what you say, because you're such a powerful person. You always make these points that you don't have to be a religious person, but the things that Dave is talking about directly correlate with good and evil, and why evil is winning the battle every day, because people refuse to believe it exists. You know, it goes back to the saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing you that he doesn't exist, and in the process making such a mockery of the good Lord that people think God is bad. Talking about God is of old. Talking about God is of bigotry. And you know, what I want you guys to do right now, if any of you want proof of how these artists are screaming for Jesus to help them, Yahweh, Jesaweh, Lord Jesus Christ, whether people say Allah is the devil, but in my opinion, I think we need unity. If Allah means God to the Islamic people, so be it. That's God for me too, you know. My culture, whatever, right? Jesus Cristo in Espanol. So what I'm seeing is these people need God so bad. And you want examples? My Darling by Eminem. My Darling by Eminem. Look this song up. It's a hidden track on his album Relapse, which is a very dark album. The whole album is about him raping and murdering and cutting women up into pieces and putting them in the back of his trunk. It's a serial murder inspired demonic album. And, you know, when I was a kid, I loved it. Everyone loved it. Eminem is so influential when it came out. And the song is called My Darling by Eminem. And try to find a video with the lyrics, because the song is literally him talking to a demon, and he doesn't want to be in the industry anymore, and he tries to kill himself, and he's literally overdosing on drugs every night because he can't go to sleep. Now, when I tell my viewers, right, Dave's viewers, you guys don't know this, and it's an honor to be here with you guys. And YouTube, we are expressing our freedom of speech under the First Amendment. Never forget that. These are just opinions. These are not slander, threats. We are just simply exercising First Amendment speech here in the United States of America. Guys, I really appreciate you being here, but the reason why I started this show was less than 2 months ago. Less than 3 months ago now, I believe. I can't sleep anymore. It's beyond turn the other cheek for me. It's beyond just live my life, be a good person, raise my dog, try to have a family, take care of my family. It's beyond that. There's little children being trafficked. I can't sleep anymore. So think about me, a guy who really didn't do much wrong in his life, either than be a piece of shit to girls before he matured. I'm happily willing to take that, you know. Was a materialistic douchebag that just wanted to climb a world of bureaucracy. And therein, I had probably the worst personality ever, you know. I get all these things and I realize them now, but I can't sleep because of what I know. These people are not only understanding what's going on, but they're fully aware that they're contributing to the decay of the youth's mind, to the decay of the virginity and the value of keeping yourself whole until you find the right person to extend your creation with, to replicate what God wants from us. Think about that. They lose their minds. They overdose themselves till they die. A lot of them get assassinated, killed, and the excuse is overdosing. Some of them lose their minds, like Heath Ledger. You know, they say acting is a great thing. Oh, he did a great job with that role. You know, these artists like Beyonce, she says Sasha Fierce, that's not me. That's another alter ego. Sasha Fierce is on the stage. I can't sing or dance like her. She hits notes that I could never hit. This is her in an interview. I'm literally paraphrasing it. You guys could find that footage. Jay-Z talked about how he feels like the spirits take over him when he freestyles. Do you know that Jay-Z is respected so much because he's never had a pen and a paper in any studio before? This man just goes into the booth and spits like he's writing. That's why they are where they are in life, folks, because they're dealing with spirits, not flesh. And these artists and these actors, they let these things take over and they perform in front of you. And I talked about it when I first met Dave Witcher, one of my favorite movies of all time, which in many ways explains what my life is. The Devil's Advocate. If you haven't seen it before, it has Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, and Charlize Theron in it. That movie is my life. Not in the most literal term, but in the metaphorical term and the ethereal term. And in some ways, the literal term too. Because law is something I have always been very passionate about. Was it my primary thing? No, but it was definitely I had to do it because I needed a backup, right? And so it was just like I had to study it. And I watched The Devil's Advocate as a child in one of my cousin's houses in California. They had it in their house. They used to hold that. They had it's so funny back then they had VCRs. You know, I feel like I'm getting old now. Whoever uses CDs anymore, let alone cassette tapes. But it was a VCR cassette and you put it in the VCR and you played this thing. And this movie, guys, it's about a solicitor is what they call him in England. Here in the United States, they call him an attorney. And this gentleman is a defense attorney, and it starts out with him defending a teacher that's basically a pedophile, and he has a girl on the stand. Without ruining it for you guys, because I don't want to spoil it for you, he literally has a moral compass kind of situation, and this is what I talk about all the time with my friends, my family, with everyone, because people do say, "Oh, that's a lame excuse to use, bro. You just freaking didn't make it, and that's why you're saying all this stuff. That's why, right?" Or like, freaking overlanding. All right, mate, you're sad, mate. You never got anything done in your life. That's why you're saying all this. You're just a whacker, mate. You're crazy, mate. No. There's a lot of us that refuse to make more money and do weird shit and be taken advantage of. Okay? And then we end up in situations where we're not really we just wasted 5-10 years of our lives, and we're questioning our moral compass, we're questioning everything, we're questioning what life is even about, and we have to go through this spiritual awakening process. So these people that go over that hill, they're so far gone at that point, they want to die, but they can't. And that song, My Darling, by Eminem, is something I tell people that are even 20% awake. And I know that song, when you listen to it, or that movie, watch it, like you can't deny these things, David. You know what I mean? You can't deny it's real. You can't deny it.
Oh, we're a great nation of denial. I think it's just. I'm just going to find the lyrics to that song. And then we can share that on the screen so people can see the lyrics.
You, my friend, are a legend.
Right. So if I was to rap about the crap that's out, that's the route you probably want me to take, because you'll just be nice to know what I think. And my take on some other rappers, if I was saying something about Paul Wall. Who's Paul Wall?
He was a C-class white rapper in America.
Okay, you'd probably crap in your pants because I'm white and he's white. So blah, 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 blah. What a dope. And so is Bubba. So anyway, here's the lyrics to that.
Hold on. David, can I do something? Because I know there's a part in the song where the demon talks to him. And if you just say it like that, it's not going to make as much sense. Can I read it really quick? I'll do it really good. I promise you.
Yeah, man, let's go for it. AJ, come on, the floor's yours.
Okay. Because you're just dying to know what I think and my take on some other rappers. If I was to say something about Paul Wall, you probably crap in your pants because I'm white and he's white. So he's like my competition. I mean, right? Nope. Paul Wall is dope and so is Bubba. But I don't compete with nobody. I just go hard, do the rope a dope, Ali shuffle and dance around my opponents, do donuts. Sometimes I play possum like I'm asleep. It's awesome. Think about that, guys. I just jump out of nowhere and bite prey and sink my teeth in them and hit them with the full poison and make a noise like a snake before I kill them and let them know. Let me get the next things. Like this part right here is so it gives you chills. So yeah, get it to the top real quick and sink my teeth in them and fill them full of poison and make a noise like a snake before I kill them and let them know I just don't feel them. and smack them with the backward E, the Eminem emblem. I was taught if you're gonna murder somebody, you should face them. Tell them why, look them dead in the eyes, right? Tell them why, look them dead in the eyes, and then waste them. And the dark shall emerge from the fiery depths of hell, and the swallow the hollow who dwell in the shadows of all who are waiting to sell their souls for this rap game. And it goes 1 2 3 chick chick 1 2 3 chick chick 1 2 3. That ain't the hook. Now follow me. Now listen, when I was telling you guys subliminal, they hide it in plain sight. That's how they decrease their chromatic energy, right? 1 2 3 1 plus 2 plus 3 6. Chick chick 1 2 3 1 plus 2 plus 3 6. Chick chick 1 2 3 1 plus 2 plus 3 6. Lord forgive me for reciting the satanic prayer. I feel yucky doing it right now. No, go back, David, go back. This is so important. Go back, please. So right there, what he did is he just said 666, and before that, he just literally told you what the rap game is. Right? It's not metaphoric. It's not metaphoric, guys. That ain't the hook. Now follow me. As in, that wasn't a part of the song. That's not the hook, the chorus. Now follow me. Let's get back to the song. Guys, that's why I said, Dave, you got to let me do this. My public adores me. Everybody bores me. They just so corny. So at night before I sleep, I look in the mirror. The mirror grows lips and whispers, come nearer. My darling, I don't ever want you to leave me, my darling. And that's the hook, right? You and me were meant to be together, my darling. And if I cannot have you, then no one can. You're my darling, because I possess your soul, your mind, your heart, and your body. And I don't want you ever to leave me, my darling. And you and me were meant to be together, my darling. And this is how the song goes. I'm literally singing the tone back in a horrible way to you guys because I'm not a rapper. And if I cannot have you, no one can. You, my darling, because I possess your soul, your mind, your heart, and your body. So think about this for a second. This song was hidden on a track 3 minutes of silence after the track's over, which most people are like, what the hell's wrong? And they just hit next.
Really?
But yes. And a lot of rappers do this. Jay-Z and Kanye West did it on Niggas in Paris. Niggas in Paris, excuse my language, guys. I got black friends, browns in me. I'm not saying it in a racist way. The song's called Niggas in Paris, Niggas in Paris. And it's about when they were concerting in Paris and they tore up the place, and the government of France fined them for the damages because the fans just went crazy. And so the song was called Niggas in Paris. Ball so hard, motherfuckers won't try me. God, I was so into the satanic stuff when I was a kid, guys. But it's not your fault. You just want to be cool and you just get brainwashed, you know? Anyway, so that's Jay-Z and Kanye. That's another story. This is Eminem. And so Dave, can you get back to the song? Because there's a part I know you're probably like, screw the song at this point, but there's a part in this because you brought the lyrics up and we have to get through this now. Okay, now this is, could you scroll up and make Shady all the way at the top? This part here, Joe Rogan is a legend. He's my inspiration. I love him so much. I shook his hand at the Comedy Store. I live in LA. He's my hero, dude. Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo are two of my most inspirational people ever, and I'll never, ever be able to replace those guys. Maybe with these Wake Up UK guys, right? Dave Witcher, I love this guy. Shady. Now, this is the demon. Eminem's nickname is Shady. Now, the reason why these hidden tracks exist, David, is because they cannot put them out officially because then they would get too much attention, right?
Wow.
Yes, but it's hidden in plain sight. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. You try to be like, oh, you're a Mason. Where'd you learn this stuff? Masonry. My parents are from freaking India. They didn't, like everyone that thinks I'm a fake, I'm looking at you right now. Not the viewers, like the haters that watch my shit and want to talk shit. My parents didn't speak English when they came to this country. And I guarantee you, no broke ass white or black person that I grew up with taught me this stuff. And you can't learn these things from a fucking laptop or a Reddit thread. No. Like, sure you just can't. If you could, then all of you would know what the fuck I'm talking about. No disrespect. I love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this movement. Now this is the demon talking. Shady, I know you're in there somewhere. Come here, talk to me. Sit here, pull up a chair. Why don't you cut your hair? Diet. Come on, try it. Oh no, I told you to leave me alone. That's Eminem talking. Leave me the fuck alone, will you? But I'm here to rebuild you. But I already killed you. But Shady, we were meant for each other. Think about your mother. Yeah, so whatever. You know how much shit Eminem talks about his mom? And what is the biggest insult to God? To talk shit about the creation, your mother.
I meant.
Right. Yeah, so whatever. Think about what she did to you and your little brother. All them foster homes. Fuck you, motherfucker. Excuse my French. Forgive me, Lord. Don't cut it out, Dave. I had you beat. No, I was playing possum, remember? I let you watch your little girls blossom. I gave you enough time. Your soul's mine. I'm taking it back. You fucking bitch. Why? Because I love you. Look a little closer. Isn't that us on that poster? Because he is within every human being, as in the devil's advocate. Who is the devil? His senior partner. Al Pacino plays his senior partner, the devil. It's always humans. God works through humans. God works through humans. The devil works through humans. This is not a game of flesh, but a game of spirits, right? My darling. Okay, get past that. Go to Shady Listen. Shady Listen. Yeah, because we're not gonna do the hook all over again. I suck at singing and rapping. Okay, yeah, right there. Shady Listen. Shady Listen. Shady Listen. Shady. You hear that? What that is in that song is the crowd chanting, Shady, Shady, like come out onto the stage, right? So the demon's like, Shady, listen, you hear that? That's millions of people chanting your name. They're screaming for you. I could bring your career back, but I don't want it back. Yes, you do. No, I don't. This is him talking to himself. He's telling you guys this is what happens to him every day in his life. All these fucking artists, they have demons haunting them. They sell their soul and they got all the money. They got everything now, but they're fucking freaking out. I've seen this thing with my eyes, guys. Why do you think I backed off? I went to parties, I saw things, and I was just like, whoa, I'm gonna take my Indian ass back home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how is this gonna benefit me in the long run? You know, this is not looking good, right. You know, I mean, it all sounds good and fun, but then when you get really close and you start seeing this is some real shit, there's no game. You end up missing, you end up getting killed. And it's even me doing this now. I know I'm putting my life in danger, but I know God's protecting me, and I know if I go out, I go out. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, so we're almost done here, David. But I don't want it back. Yes, you do. No, I don't. I'm gonna get Dre on the phone. I'll just call the doctor. Dr. Dre signed 50 Cent, signed Eminem, and God knows how many other artists. Dr. Dre, there's so many people in the industry that have said he sold his soul for $1 million. Seems like a low price, right? Seems like a low price, but back in the day where Dre's from, niggas with an attitude, you got all these groups that were fuck the police from the underground, right? He was so like he came out of that hood time. Easy got killed. Easy some say he got injected with AIDS. It's even shown in the movie that Hollywood put out that he might have been injected with AIDS. So it's like this Dr. Dre guy, very occultic, very involved in a cultural movement that paved the way for 60% of prisons being full of black people in my country right now. My black brothers and sisters suffering and becoming a victim of the prison profit system. We imprison more people in this country than the entire world's countries.
Yeah, it's disgraceful.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. And so that Dr. Dre is a huge component to that. Right. And then look, he signed a guy like this, Eminem. Look at the kind of satanic shit Eminem rapped about his whole life. And to this day, people will defend him and say he's a great artist and he's the best rapper ever. Right. So go ahead. I already talked to Dre yesterday. Well, I got him on the phone right now. Slim. That's Dre talking. You're lying. Yo, Slim. Wow. Hi. How? Why now? What up, Dre? Check this shit out, Slim. I gotta talk to you. I don't know. It just seems like ever since you got off your drugs, you came out a little softer. But Dre, all shit is a bottle of hair bleach and vodka. Well, just think about it, Slim. I'm here. Just hit me back and let me know what's up. Fuck this man. I'm not in the mirror. I'm inside you. Let me guide you. Fuck you. Die, you son of a bitch. Just a little bit more, Dave, and then we're done. Just 3 more lines. This is the part I wanted to show you guys. Put the gun down. Bye-bye. He fires the gun in the song. Okay, I'm still alive. So am I too. You can't kill a spirit, even if you lied, even if you tried to. You sold your soul to me. Need I remind you? You remember that night? You prayed to God you give anything to get a record deal? Well, Dre signed you. This is what you wanted your whole life, Marshall, right? Boo. Look at this house. Look at these cars. I'm so nice. Ooh. Oh my God, this shit gives me chills. All right, we're done, guys. Just listen to the rest of that song whenever you can.
Oh,
I mean, Dave, we got to change the world, brother. We got to change the world.
We are. No, we are, mate. Listen, we are. It's we're funky fresh. We're keeping it real. Look, when I actually sit and think how far we've come as a country with the information we've put out there, we've touched people's lives in the last 10 years. It's it's amazing. I've stopped people. I've stopped bailiffs taking kids, mothers, single mothers, and their kids. I've stopped them entering their homes. We've stopped Kent Police a few times. We've had Channel 4 come and do a bit of filming with us. We've done a program on the telly called Battling the Bailiffs. The whole country got to see what the police and the courts are up to. We're giving the courts one up. We're taking back our divinity, our sovereignty, and they know it's coming, and they know there's nothing they can do about it, because this is our kingdom, this is my creation, and I'm certainly not going to beg to enjoy it or take part in it. But I am definitely going to bring the light back to this world. So help me God. And if I go dancing with the dark ones all the time, they never win.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time even turning up. I'm just, but it is what it is. I'm someone that can't sit by and watch bad things happen. I can't twitch my curtains and watch a bailiff take someone's stuff for no good reason. I couldn't sit and twitch my curtains and watch a kid be taken away by social services. We got a situation in this country, an Italian guy and his wife a few years ago. She had the baby by cesarean section while two policemen with machine guns stood by the bed, and they whipped the baby off out of her arms. I mean, dirty, dark, satanic bastards. I tell you, I got fucking... And being a good Christian, I wouldn't pull the lever on them being hung, but I'd certainly go and watch it.
Yeah.
I'd witness it. I'm here to witness things. I'm here as a witness.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, what I'm seeing is so scary. Like Angie and Tinky, I'm looking to have them on here on my YouTube channel as a segment, and then on Wake Up UK for Jeremy Poole's show when I take over for a month when he's on vacation. Which, Jeremy, if you're watching this, we love you.
Jeremy's good, isn't he? He's a good man, isn't he?
Thank you for introducing me to everyone, Jeremy. You were
skincare products.
Jeremy, you were the pearly gates that opened me to the heavenly people of Wake Up UK, man, and I appreciate it, brother. If you're listening. But I really believe at the end of the day, David, it's just what we need to do as a people, as a human race that is obviously dealing with forces that are beyond our strength, and they can put fear in us, they can make us feel insecure, they can make you feel weak and vulnerable before you. Because another thing that I learned, and this is a little off topic, and I'm sorry because I just kind of lost track of what I was saying, and so on.
I did this show today for you.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I love you, brother. Thank you. I learned firsthand that although there are intense forms of demonic possession, the Muslim people call them jinn, and they call the devil the Dajjal, the one-eyed demon. Right? There's a one eye on the top of the pyramid on the back of our dollar. That's why I stress unity to people in England right now. Everyone's a good person. Everyone wants to win against evil. If they keep convincing you guys you're each other's enemies, then nothing's ever going to happen, But demonic possession starts at very little things, like when you see something that makes you feel lustful and blood starts to flow into your genitals. If you're a guy, I can only speak from experience. When you feel envious, when you feel jealous, when you feel angry, and it's never anything serious. It's little things that build up over time and the behavior becomes intense. And what you have down the road, if someone doesn't change the behavior and doesn't treat themselves, like Dave talked about with me before the show, how much important it is to keep your body healthy as much as your mind, because it affects your mind as much, exercise and all that stuff, diet. These people that end up crazy, that end up homeless, that end up addicted to drugs, that aren't even famous, that never even saw a good tax return, never had a decent job. They're so far down the end of demonic possession. And in our country, what we do is we just give them depression medicine, we give them anxiety medicine, we just shove pills down their throat. And if they don't take the pills, they're even worse. So they're just kind of numbing their brain until they die. And to me, it's pretty evident when you say, Mr. Witcher, that this is demonic possession. I've had multiple psychologists tell me that they've cured multi-personality disorder through the preaching of Christ, through the preaching of God, right? And now in the state of California, where I live, in Los Angeles, and many other states in the United States, I'm sure in England it's the same, psychologists can't talk about God with their clients. They could lose their license to practice. So the very weapon that was curing this evil is now snatched from the hands of these people who study the mind.
If, when you get into these areas of and I said to you just a second ago, I did this show today for you. I wanted to bring you in and so you could tell everyone what's going on. But what's even greater is that you're on the other side of the pond. You're out there in the Washington DC, and we're having this conversation. I mean, that's a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
So this is it's a revelation what the internet's give us now. The reason why I read the Bible is because it teaches you about self, and it says know thyself, and you have to humble yourself. You have to come into meekness, and just it. I only read it because to me it's like if I've got an old Ford Capri, a beautiful car, and I get it and I need to refurbish it, I could take a gamble and just get my spanners out, play with it, throw half the bolts away and never get it back together. But if I actually go and buy the Haynes Ford manual and sit and digest the book, I've got a good understanding of actually what I need to do the job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I look at the Bible as a Ford Haynes manual. If you want to fix the body, go to the Ford Haynes manual, and what you'll find is whenever you pick it up, you can pick it up on a specific day and you'll just open it up, and you've opened it up on this page, and you will find things will just leap out at you that you need to feel in that particular instance, provided that you're in the spirit. If you're in the spirit, these revelations will come your way. If you're not, they won't, because you need to be. It's like an antenna. You need to be tuned into the frequency to receive the message. And that's all that I did. I tuned into my soul, my vibration, my inner self, my inner being, and I wrestled with it for a very small amount of time. But it made me wholer. It made me more complete. It made me appreciate life more. It made me realize what is valuable and what is not valuable. And I just know, like I said at the beginning, that the soul is the preservation. If you can't preserve your soul and do good, service to others is service to self. If you do something nice for someone without expectation, my word, your world will be illuminated. I chose to go down the path of helping people. We've helped people over the years come together through wisdom that have healed their bodies of cancer, or should I? Yeah, I will say, or they've got over the symptom. I'm not going to say cured because everyone and the World Health Organization will be on me like a box of frogs. But we've through wisdom and understanding and reading the book and what foods you need to eat to heal yourself. I mean, we have the Muslim fraternity out there that won't eat pig. They call it haram, and I make them right but the Brits love a bacon sandwich, but this book itself tells you to eat the pig.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to say about that, a lot of these things, the human infectious presence in religion has totally destroyed the credibility of what religion even means, which is to find the inner self. My voice going through this mic into your guys' audio speakers or whatever devices you're listening to me from. This is God. What is this? Let's just talk about this. Let's look through our people, what we know from our cultures, and try to answer these questions. But things like this, the haram thing with the pig and stuff, when you actually look at the scientific reason for why that is because pork would rot. And someone brought up Joe Rogan earlier. I listen to the JRE podcast, and that's what I love about Joe Rogan. He is so influential in the sense that he can have people from any spectrum of political ideology or knowledge base or pop culture reference on his show, and he talks about important things. And it's just it's unity in itself when you get people from so many different styles of life that would never correlate with each other come to the Joe Rogan Experience and listen to this giant podcast that millions of people in the world listen to. And that's where I heard that from a very renowned person he had on too that was very educated in the Middle East. I don't know if it was Dan Carlin or Sam Harris, but these people have not just one PhD, but just like these are very diploma intellectual individuals. And yeah, that's why that pork thing even happened. It's because you can't preserve it in that environment. So it would go bad and people would die, and it just became like a religious thing. I know so many Pakistani people in England that love them some bacon sammies, you know, as you guys like to call it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There are a lot of people out there that say that pork, the DNA of the pig, is very, very similar to men and women.
Yeah. My dad actually, that's why my dad doesn't want to eat them. And one of your commenters said that too. Pigs are rather intelligent. I like pigs. Yeah. My dad refuses to eat bacon just on that. He doesn't eat meat much, but when he does eat, he'll eat chicken or beef, but he won't eat. He says he does not like to eat pork because they're just so smart. Anyway, sorry. Go on, Dave. I apologize.
Yeah, no. It's what we've done is we've looked into the etymology of a lot of words over the years. Human, and a human is a fiction. A human is a monster. If you look up the legal definition of the word human, it means monster, creature, and which is a fiction. So we have to be really careful of words. And this is something that like a friend of mine went into court about 6 years ago. We'd been in contact, and he said, right, okay, I know what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to have fun with this. He got accosted by a copper, and he told the copper to F off, and he called him a cunt. And on the day of the court case, and this is how clever it is when we switch our brains on and we think outside the box. Yeah. The copper stood there in the dock with his lapels on, looking very smart, with his hat. You know, they wear all the great fineries. And the magistrates turned to my friend and said, do you recognise this gentleman there, this PC? He said, yeah, I recognise that man. And they looked, and he was like, he just called him a man rather than PC 1, 2, 3, 4. But so they said, right, okay, so you reckon you know who he is, yeah? So on such and such a day, you was at such and such. He said, yeah, I was, yeah. He said, yeah, no problem. He said, and you told him to F off. He said, yeah, I did. Yeah, amen, I did. And they said, and later on, you called him a cunt. He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I did. And the magistrates were just about to get medieval on him. And my friend said, would you like me to give you the Oxford Dictionary definitions of the words and the context in how I used them? Next case, thanks for coming. And the copper stood there going, what just happened? He just got thrown out. Because what could the judges do? You know, all right, they're vulgar words, but they're still defined in the Oxford Dictionary. And to tell someone a cunt in the context meant someone you strenuously disagree with. Yeah. Now they couldn't touch him, and that copper probably still to this day doesn't understand. Now that's magic, right? That's class. My friend just grabbed his stuff and walked out. And I had a woman in Australia, a friend of mine, Deborah Bentley. I've been doing this for years. She was in Supreme Court with her partner, and this judge started screaming at her. So she turned her back on him, and he shouts out, "Madam, do you not understand what's going on here?" So she turned around with one of these in her hand, and she put her hands in the air and said, "No, I don't." She said, "I live by this book. I have no understanding of what goes on here." Now she's in her true equity, right? And the judge bowed. He bent over. All the clerks bent over. And the judge said, "Madam, the door is open. You don't have to push." She just grabbed her stuff and walked out. I had a couple in Germany, in the military in Germany. This was 8-9 years ago. The woman got hold of me. She said, "Dave," she said, "me and my partner, we're in the military. We've got to go to court. We was about 2,000 Deutschmarks or whatever behind on the rent or the council tax." I said, "Right, go in, do this, do that, do this." They come out. All bets was off, all set to zero. I'd say I've enjoyed this ride because I know I'm freeing my brothers and sisters.
Dave, it's a trip that you're saying this because as someone who, look, I base my entire life on evidence. I am not a speculative person. Since I was 11 or 12, I have been involved in this stuff. You know, on my last episode on my YouTube channel, I had my best friend Corey Sullivan on, who's black, and we grew up together and stuff. And This guy even said it. He was like, since I've known you, you've been on this Illuminati stuff. Like, if there's anyone that's authentic, it's you, right? In this regard. And I got to tell you, Dave, like, this whole thing is Dr. Winnie. She was the George Floyd lady that said it was a false flag attack.
Yeah.
She was on my show, right? And she said that Europe is already on the other side of this thing, and people in Europe are aware, and they're like, bro. And so what you're talking about is confirming what you told me, and that's so beautiful, because that to me is, I mean, in a court of law, that's proof. That's undeniable proof in front of a jury. That is proof. That's two cross-examining witness testimonials that are accurate on what's going on. And here in the United States, we don't realize that yet, and I really truly believe that if someone walked into a courthouse in the United States, that because this country is truly a corporation in many ways, people would laugh you out. If the devil thrives anywhere, it's probably in the US, like more than elsewhere. And I think Europe is somewhat of an ancient land, a land of the West. They called it the Lion's West.
The
right?
devil. When so there was this woman in 1800. She sold her soul to the devil, pretty much like a lot of these rappers. But as she was being tempted, she realised she'd made a mistake. I'll try and find you the transcripts. Someone sent them to me a few years ago. So she, before things were just about to get really medieval on her, she said to the Dark One, "Do you have a boss?" And she said the Lord's Prayer. She said the Lord's Prayer, and the Dark One was bowing before her, and she said, "Why do you bow?" He said, "This has been since the beginning of time." He knows his master, and he knows. It's like when he tempted Christ, and Christ had the ump, and he said, "Get behind me, Satan." He said, "Remember your place. Remember your place. Remember you are a fallen angel. Remember you have a master." And that's why I love it. So, but this woman, she was okay. She lived. A Celestine, I think her name was. It was about 18th century, and she got into the masonry. She sold out. She realised that she made a mistake, and she got out of it by standing in the light and saying the Lord's Prayer and
so
coming back.
I would imagine, just for the sake of credibility, I would imagine she joined a sisterhood, which would be like the Order of the Eastern Star, which is an off branch of Masonry, or something like that, right? Because from what I was taught, and when I joined Masonry, is it's a male only fraternity. There's no females allowed. However, there is a group that falls under different branches, like the Rosicrucians or the Scottish Rite of Masonry, that is called the Order of the Eastern Star, the Sisters of the Eastern Star, and that is like basically female Masons. I would imagine Hillary Clinton, all these people that are high levels occult members are very aware of what the Eastern Star is.
Do you think, right, being an American, being in America right now, well, being a man in America, let's get it straight. Do you think that Trump's trying to clean up the deep state?
After having my best friend, my big brother Corey on, he really gave me a reality check, in the sense that the left has good people too, and I'm still young, and I get influenced just as much as the next person. So I have to be vigilant, as it says in the Bible. You have to be vigilant for the demon, the beast. The beast runs around the earth,
Devouring the Roman.
Yeah, devouring the Romans. Yeah. And so it's, bye, Carlos. God bless you. Thank you for joining our chat. And please share the show. Please, 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 guys, help me and Dave, help Dave and I share and just get this out, because I know you guys know I am entertaining as all hell, and I got all facts on facts, and I'm never going to run out of them. I have more than enough time, and I have not enough time and more than enough information is what I was trying to say. But Dave, Trump, if there's any credence to him, if there are white hats that are hiding behind him and using him, because that's really the only person that can get to that level without being bought out in this circumstantial scenario, then yes, the child sex trafficking is being stopped, and the FISA documents and all this stuff that's going on, then yes, this is the one. But in the Bible, we must be wary, because like I told you, Dave, I've been really reading the Revelations lately and just trying to decipher it like a like a freaking. And this brings me back to a very important point, Dave. I have to say, because we were talking about the Bible and the power of people walking into courtrooms in Europe and using the Bible, and the charges are acquitted and the phony accusations are acquitted. I'll talk about that here in a second. But what I was just saying is, what was that, Dave? Can you please remind me what I was just saying? Can somebody in the chat?
Do you think Trump is?
Yes. The Bible, it tells us to be wary in Revelations of false prophets.
Of course.
So we have to be wary of Trump. Amen. I
agree.
Yeah, we cannot be blindly subservient to him. All these people, these QAnon followers, these people that are like, Trump is the Great Awakening. Okay, all right. When I was 18, the first president I voted for was Barack Hussein Obama. What are you trying to tell me? That was change. Yes, we can. That man was a lot more presentable for what Trump was trying to do. Regardless of politics, he was a black dude that claimed he was going to help the normal man. But turns out he was Dick Cheney's first cousin. Turns out the man has a lot of shady stuff going on in his background. And now there's so much criticism that people have the nerve to, call his wife a transgender. And I understand there's a lot of evidence out there, but could you imagine like if someone called your wife a transgender and she wasn't? So there's a lot of shady stuff with all these people that get into this level of office, and
go on.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's a good shag, does it matter?
Dave, I love you so much, man. I don't know. I'm not the judge of that. I'm a straight shooter. So if I found out she wasn't a woman, I would probably ditch up. Hey, that's how.
It gives you something to hang on to on a windy day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if that's how Obama wants to roll, he can roll. That's what the Constitution's about, right? I mean, what's wrong with having a president? But the idea is the hiding. The idea is the lying. And I really hope it's not all true, because if it is, it's like, man, that man was really a deceiver, just like the rest of us, or excuse me, the rest. I love how I said the rest of us. But
what do you think of Kanye West's recent trip over to Christ and Joel Osteen show and his album now called King, whatever it is, with the blue? Do you think Kanye's for real?
As much as I love Kanye West, I think he's, it's like I told you on our last show that I aired, the Highway Show. The Kardashians, if you're married to a Kardashian, you're married to a witch that's gonna suck out all your energy and most likely drive you crazy. And Kanye is like the 9th dude that a Kardashian sister has been with, and the guy's going nuts. He was in a mental ward for a while when the election happened. Drugs and stuff.
What possessed him to go on stage and
God. I mean, I told you.
You think he's come home to the good side?
Oh, I think he's always been on the good side. Look, see, here's the thing. A lot of these artists, man, they're just people who tried to make it, and in the what do you think I was? You think I was trying to sell my soul to the devil? No, I wanted to be famous. I wanted to help my family. I wanted to be the guy that had all the money.
Yeah.
For anyone, I see a stranger that needs my help. What do you need? Let me buy you a house. Let me get you. Oh, my family's in trouble. Let me get a private jet and get you guys over there in 10 hours. It's fine. Oh, you need this? Don't worry. Pay me next year. Like, I wanted to be that light in life. I wanted to be that guy. But the problem is, you can't be that powerful and influential without working through the devil. And people don't want to believe that. People that have a couple $100,000 in the bank, people that have a couple million in the bank through their families, having generational wealth acquired through working and not breaking any laws, think that that's how the rest of the world is, where it's at the upper echelon, the elite. And it just drives me nuts, because if you think your family's going to have billions and trillions of dollars and the ability to centralize currencies like the Federal Reserve and the Bank of London and have governments at the helm of your feet, you're fucking out of your mind. Like, what kind of logic are you running with? And I have people with so much education in their arsenal that literally believe this stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, so many of my teachers would laugh at this idea that there's a cabal running the world. And now look, I'm 27 and I am like, those same people, their tone has completely changed towards me. They're just like, man, you were fucking right about everything. And so it's just, the point I'm trying to make is Kanye was not a bad guy, is not a bad guy. And sure, yeah, he had his demonic moment. Sure, he's done some evil stuff. I'm sure these guys got skeletons in their closet. I mean, look at what's coming out about the ones that they're just willing to throw under the bus, like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, to keep the spotlight off of Hollywood. Let's just give them some bait so people think it's just Harvey and Bill, when there's a lot worse stuff going on, and it's all coming out, and it will come out, because the truth will come to light. Huh?
Is Harvey Weinstein dead?
I don't know if he died or not. I thought he was in jail and he's really sick. Did he die?
let's get into some really nitty gritty stuff here.
Okay, but Dave, before you do, please keep your thought on that. I have to talk about this, and I promise you're gonna be like, oh my god, good thing you did. So Kanye, if he is running, he's gonna do it to take all of Biden's votes. To answer your question, that's what I truly believe, my theory. Because if he runs, he's gonna run as a Democrat, then it'll be a landslide population vote towards Trump, because more people are gonna vote for Kanye, and no one's gonna vote for Biden, because people are thinking Kanye's actually being serious. I don't think he's being serious. It just doesn't make any sense. And what is he gonna do in office? Kanye West, guys, come on. Come on, like the executive branch, we're talking about the most powerful position in the world. I don't know what Kanye West would do there. I'm sure he could do good, but I just don't understand why he would want to do it. And it's a job.
Trump now, isn't he? Is he quite pally with Trump?
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool. I mean, that's why he did what he did in the election, because his mother was very Christian. She was a Republican through and through. She really was. She might have been a civil rights activist in many ways and supported civil rights activism, but her beliefs, her traditionalist beliefs in God and family values, they were Republican, they were conservative. And so it's like my brother, my big brother, my best friend. I doubt he watches shows this long because he's so busy, but I had him on my last episode, Corey Sullivan. He's analyzed for ESPN. He's done some big things too, and this guy, he's older than me. I've always looked up to him, and he tells me straight up, like, it's, I would be a Republican if they weren't so fucking racist. Like, it made me laugh so much, and I was just like, oh my god, like, that's so true. Like, so many black people would love to be Republicans if they didn't feel like Republicans were racist towards them. And the idea that there's black people that are like, no, I don't want government in my money. Let me spend my money how I want to. Yes, I believe in God. That's the kind of politics I want. So it's quite evident that people like Kanye would get along with someone like Donald Trump, who's representing patriotism right now and representing the idea of, being a conservative and whatnot. Now, what I was going to talk about before we get into the real nitty gritty stuff that you were saying, Dave, and I'm sorry for delaying it so long.
Good, man. It's good.
The Bible is so powerful for a reason, because its opposition exists on this earth, and if its opposition controls the very enforcement, like Masonry, over 60% of the politicians in our Congress either have a Masonic membership, or like they're a part of a lodge, or they have a citizenship in Israel. They have dual citizenship in Israel. And I don't know if anyone knows, but Israel, diplomats in Israel are immune in the United States. So Jeffrey Epstein, if he is alive or dead, doesn't matter. He's immune to any charges. So this facade that he was being charged, that's why he got let go in Florida, if you guys have seen that documentary and whatnot. What I'm trying to say is, you see that the evil is protected and it's immune, and you see it's at high levels, and it's very difficult to beat them. But Dave is talking about this weird thing where people are walking in with the book, whether it's the unadulterated King James version or whatever. They're able to do magical, somewhat nonsensical things for someone like me, who looks up to people who are amazing attorneys that I will never be able to be like. I mean, no matter how hard I try. And I've studied practicing law for the majority of my education. I am the kind of person to say that they would laugh at the idea if you walked into a courtroom and raised your Bible and said, you can't tell me what to do. But it's happening. Dave's telling you, it's happening before your eyes. It's happening in Europe, everywhere, not just in England. So this book that I'm about to talk about is in Stockholm, Sweden, and it's only shown every 7 years. And you can only see it through glass from a distance. And it's preserved, and it's been observed by the world's most renowned people, who are basically the archaeologists of books, archaeologists of written documents. I forgot what they're called, but they're like the people who observe writing and what it was written with, the kind of paper and book, what the material was made out of, and where the book was from. You know what I'm talking about. Those little like, ooh, I do this and I do that and I made it. They got the little, freaking yeah. So these people have determined that this book was written by one person because the writing style is the same, and it must have been done over years, because the writing doesn't tire, it doesn't drag, and it's so efficient and perfect. And this book is called, I'm surprised someone in the chat hasn't said it, because everyone's so smart in this chat. This book is called the Codex Gigas, the Devil's Bible. The last person to have it was the King Adolphus of Sweden. The Swedish Empire was very, 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 very wealthy, very flourishing. But when the Devil's Bible landed in the hands of one of their kings, somehow he became obsessed with it. Within it has the knowledge. It has the knowledge of potions, like Harry Potter type stuff. When I say the Devil's Bible, Codex Gigas, Codex space Gigas, the Codex Gigas. And this Bible never left that king's hands. I mean, he literally destroyed his empire over that Bible. The empire fell, and that's why Sweden lost so much of his territory, and Finland became what it is, and Norway became what it is. And if you look into this history, guys, it's insane. So King Adolphus was going crazy in this book. He wanted immortality. He wanted all this stuff that these sick Illuminati people want today. And the Codex Gigas is not just any kind of book, guys. It's not like this big. I'm talking like 50 pounds. Like, Dave, if you could show.
I've got it on the screen.
Oh my God, I love you, man. You are a legend in itself. Look at you. So the Codex Gigas, English giant book, is the largest extant medieval illuminated manuscript in the world at the length of 92 centimeters. It is also known as the Devil's Bible because of a very unusual full-page portrait of the devil and the legend surrounding its creation. Now, of course, these kind of websites will never tell you the truth because it wouldn't be up for long. This monk was caught masturbating. You're not supposed to masturbate in those people were monks, those European monkdoms and stuff, those like churches and shit. And so this dude was caught masturbating, and they were gonna execute him the next day. I mean, I'm talking some heavy stuff. They were gonna execute him the next day. And I would not be a monk. What's the point? Because you slip up one night, you're gonna get executed. Like, that's just that risks are too high. The risks are too high, But anyway, so he masturbated, he got caught. They threw him in a jail cell, and he sells his soul to the devil. And within 12 hours writes that book. Had no materials to write it. And had no book to write on. So this idea that he was in the cell and he did this, they came in next morning to execute him. And he was sitting there, just like eerie looking, I'm sure, with this fucking book. And he said that you'll forgive me now. And they didn't fucking kill him, and he was forgiven, and he got to continue preaching to God and stuff. But literally what this dude did was, to save his life, he offered the devil the deed to write a Bible of his own. And yeah, that's the legend, but I know it's true because of everything we've been talking about, so yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's so weird that they only show it once every 7 years, and they keep it in dark all the time. They say it can't have too much light on it. That's why it's always shown once every 7 years. Weirdest shit ever, man. I mean, they probably know exactly what the fuck they're doing. It's ritualistic, I'm sure. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up before we got into the nitty-gritty, because this is a very, very key aspect of the occult. And if the Codex Gigas is a thing, think about how many other books exist that these people have in their possession. And when you talk about J.K. Rowling, when you talk about J.R.R. Tolkien, these people are some of the biggest insiders. George Lucas, Star Wars, when they wrote these books, they weren't just writing stuff out of their ass. That's what these university philosophy professors and theological professors have always taught, and it gets so annoying to me. And I might be wrong, I might be crazy. At the end of the day, I'm going to leave all options on the table, but I am expressing my freedom of speech and my opinion when I say that it's bullshit. It's all bullshit, because at the end of the day, magic is as real as it gets. It's in our money. It affects everything we do. We watch TV, we listen to music, we walk into a shop, and the way we buy stuff, what we wear, the way we want to talk and act, and all this stuff, all these paradigms that we're shifting into constantly, it's magic. There's people influencing our psychology, and therefore it is magic. That is what magic is. And this whole thing that wizards exist and stuff, and they're real. Witchcraft, the occult, hoodoo. I had a guest on episode 3. He was a flat earther. His name's Raphael, and he's Dominican Republican, and he was talking about the very concept that Santeria and hoodoo and all this stuff is real, man. He told me about a real experience of a situation where he dealt with, demonic possession. And I used to rent a home when I was studying at the University of California. When I first moved out to Los Angeles, I was studying at the UCLA, and I couldn't afford the housing on campus. I mean, it's rich people stuff down here, and so I had to get a place to rent, and I was renting this lady's house who was from where was she from? Guatemala. She was from Guatemala, and she would tell me all the time. And there was another lady that owned the property with her that I would always, and we'd have dinner sometimes, and she was from Dominican Republican. And they would tell me all the time about this stuff. That one time, one of her brother's ex-wives, at the time they were, her brother and his ex-wife were married, she didn't like this lady because she was the older sister. She was protective, and she like did some weird hoodoo stuff, hired somebody to do this, and got a doll of her and would like poke it with needles. And this lady, my landlord, would be sick weeks on end, and praying to Jesus would help, but sometimes it wouldn't. And it's just like, how can people be making this stuff up? Why would they want to make this stuff up? What, to get attention? How long are we going to keep using these stupid excuses to debunk these conspiracy theories when there's so much evil and chaos in the world, and it never ends? It never stops, Davey. It never stops. And we just want to sit here and deny the supernatural forces that are at play. You know, another thing I want to add is David Icke would always talk about the reptilians and war. It just lines into what I just said. Why does war never end? Fear is food for these creatures. Like we eat food to digest and break down the energy and store it and become fat, or burn it off and look good, depending on which way we go. These things feed off fear. That's why these humans, adrenochrome, there's adrenaline in the blood. They scare the victim before they kill it, right? It's all out there, guys. It's not just in the movies. There's testimonials. And this stuff is scary, because when you think about war zones, when you think about Palestine, no one wants to talk about Palestine. You'll get taken off the air. You'll get censored on YouTube. No one wants to talk about these things. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, war will never stop happening until Christ returns, in my opinion, because these things need to eat, and they eat constantly around war zones because people are so scared. There's bombs dropping, there's people being shot at, there's people dying, there's people helping the dead and the wounded. It is fear left and right. So it's food. And when we think of the third dimension, which quantum physics has really debunked, in the sense that this is all light. This is all condensed form of light that we think is solid. You know, it doesn't seem so when our finger breaks or our foot breaks or we get killed or smushed by a car in an accident. But imagine a very condensed form of water that it's like jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and landing into water. You break your legs, you break your knees, right? So it's water. That shouldn't happen. But after a certain velocity, after a certain speed, it's like hitting cement. You're going to freaking break your back and most likely die. And it's the same thing with this. Condensed light seems solid, but this is all fake. So if there's first and second dimensions, if there's fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh up onto God, and hell may be first and below first, who knows? What's to say that there's not entities that are feeding off of our livelihoods and our energies? Because the way we live, our energy that we exert. Now think about the porn industry. I always talk about this and people think it's weird. Semen retention. If you hold on to your semen, boys, you literally are more vibrant, you're stronger, you have more energy, you sleep less, and you're awake more. You know, and people are on porn sites every day just jacking off. And in the Talmud, it actually says that when you jack off, you're killing your children's spirits, that you're creating little demon babies. I mean, this is what the Jewish Talmud says. It's the good version of the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is like the creepy Jewish book, the Madonna, Hollywood, occultic stuff, and then the red string and the butterfly effect and all that weird stuff. But the Talmud is like the Bible of the Jews. And in the Talmud, it says that masturbation is very bad because you're wasting your life force. And
it makes you go blind.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all that, but because I've been jacking off for a long time in my eyes. Well, I do have glasses. but it's
my career, Joe.
Yeah. But guys, there's something to that, because what you're doing is you're staring at a screen. Is that TV turning you on? Is it the digital pixelation turning you on? There's no girl there. The audio sounds maybe turning you on, right? But what's going on where you're engaging in such passionate display of recreation, and your body's kind of charging up to release all of its proteins and vitamins and literally what your body has to recreate another human being, all of its good essence, right? You're just squirting it out into a towel or a paper towel or into a condom, or on
Yeah, I've heard that loads of time, man.
Yeah, man. It's there's reality to it. And I'll tell you this right now. I have been training mixed martial arts since I was a kid. Now, since the age of 24 to 27, like my dad got sick and bad relationships and stuff, you know, I was dating a girl in Leeds and I broke up with her, and you could imagine what that would do to you, having a girlfriend in England that you think you're going to marry and then it breaks up horribly because of stupid political reasons and just immaturities and stuff. It's insane to me that MMA fighters, because when I would train all the time, like I didn't train competitively, but I would train and stay fit all the time. I knew that in my circles, kids that were training to become professional athletes did not have sex before their fights, you know. And then you hear about it with like soccer athletes, with with footballers, you know, and you call them footballers over there. You hear about it here with NFL players, NBA players. Male athletes will preserve their semen until after an important game, right? And until after an important fight. And
that's not necessarily true, because I think I see a video of an Arsenal goalkeeper a couple of years ago in a hotel room with 3 girls just prior to a match.
Well, some people just got it like others, but some people don't, man. Some people do. Some people can do it and get it.
He had to get his mojo going. That was
I will see. There's just some people, Dave, that are just absolute freaks. And I know this is kind of off topic, but John Jones, I have a few pictures with him on my Instagram, and this guy is the greatest fighter of all time. If any of you guys have seen UFC, he does not fucking lose, bro. And this guy, John Jones, man, he I mean, he's drunk. He's had the same fiance for almost 15 years. As much as I love him, I'm not talking shit about you, John. If you ever see this, I'm sorry. I love you, bro. But like, he's such a boss. He hasn't married the same girl for 10 years. He's had babies with her continuously, more and more. But he keeps fucking around with these other girls. And this one time he was driving drunk in Aston Martin and he hit a pole and he had these like hookers in the back. You know, he's
Aston Martin. What, he wanted him to dance somewhere, was he?
Yeah. He was probably getting some head and he was drunk and wasn't paying attention or something. And he's tested positive for coke and so cocaine. Like during his fights, he had cocaine in his body, right? So like, probably from partying before the fight, and he would still win. He would go in and face the best athletes of the world, Olympic wrestlers, jiu-jitsu gods, people who were knocking, the average man would get annihilated in 10 seconds and have brain damage fighting one of these people. And John Jones would beat them. And he became the youngest light heavyweight champion at 21. And he's still the light heavyweight champion right now. And it's just, you're right, Dave. There's some people that can get away with it, but those are not good examples for us normal people. Those are not good examples. Ronda Rousey, another point of proof of what I'm talking about. Ronda Rousey, she was a judo bronze medalist and a former first UFC female champion, bantamweight champion. And she said that she actually likes to increase, in an interview, she said she likes to increase her amount of sex. She'll have sex with men who aren't competing, or her significant other who's obviously not a fighter or isn't going to be fighting the same night, and will make sure that they seminate inside her, even though she's on birth control. And she believes that she feels more energetic during her fights when she does that. Like, she'll try to have sex 10-15 times the week of her fight. So
got her phone number, have you?
Huh?
You got a phone number?
What the fuck? If I give my phone number out, I'm gonna have some creepies and all.
AJ, you look a bit of a unit. You look like quite a big chap.
Yeah, I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy. I'm not tall though, but I'm a big boy. I got some KO power, that's for sure. I prefer to grab people and take them to the ground though. It's safer. Yeah. While you're choking them out, you can tell them you don't mean any harm and leave while they're waking up. Yeah, that's the best way to go about it, man. Just a rear naked choke, or put somebody in an arm bar and talk to them while you got their arm in a position where you can snap it off.
It's all that coffee you Sikhs drink over the years, all that stuff, isn't it? You're so strong, Sikhs.
Chai.
No, what is it? There's a thing that the Sikhs drink. It's like a milk drink, and it really
Lassi.
That's it.
Yeah,
man. Every Sikh, I said, hey, they said my mum booked me up on lassi.
I'm an international man. I can speak 3 languages other than English, Hindi, Urdu, and Punjabi. And people think Punjabi and Urdu are the same, but they're really not. There's a lot of differences. Urdu is actually closer to Farsi than it is Punjabi.
I can speak American, Australian. It's like, oh, mate, we've all got it going on, you know.
You know what's really annoying? You know what's really annoying is people in America will be like, "Oh, you got a British accent." And as someone who's been an Anglophile my entire life, because I've been visiting my cousins and my family in England as a kid during summers, and then just dating girls in England as I got older, then joining Masonry through my legal affiliations and stuff, my legal student affiliations and whatnot. And to me,
You were a lawyer, weren't you? You done the law. You were part of the bar.
yeah. I practiced for a while. But the thing is, I try my best not to talk about that, because I can literally, if there's anything I'm trying to do, whether I'm trying to get a bar license again or trying to, whatever, you know, if I'm currently practicing, I like to keep that all gray, because if in any point in time any of these videos were to really go viral, I mean, you guys know how it is in England. If for exercising your freedom of speech, forget about being disbarred. You'll be blackballed.
I wouldn't bother doing the bar because we're going to bring it to an end in any case. We've had enough.
That's what a lot of people are saying. And, you know, there's a lot of lawyers that think that the lawyers are a necessity. And I'll tell you guys right now, as someone who's studied the law for most of my life, and I've been on both ends of the spectrum, I'm going to go ahead and say that lawyers are great, but they're a middleman that is so unnecessary and has really been forced onto us.
Amen.
And, I think I have the right to say that at this point. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of my arena. Am I well versed? Am I trying to say I'm one of the best lawyers or wannabe lawyers out there? No, God, no. There's people out there that are way better than me. But when you have people like Alan Dershowitz, who went to Epstein's Island freaking God knows how many times, and he represented OJ, he was the one who organized the Epstein's team. You know, he was a law professor in Harvard. Lawyers are not the move. Like, you know, they make a lot of money, they got a lot of power, but the bureaucracy destroys the moral ethics compass. And I myself am so grateful for a few lawyers in my life, and if they ever hear what I'm saying right now, they will always know that I'm forever grateful for their representation whenever I needed them in my personal endeavors, or just in general, the advice that they ever gave me and helped me to learn about myself when I asked them if I could be a lawyer someday. So these are the kind of things that I like to say, that, you know, lawyers are not all bad. There are really good lawyers, and in the certain circumstances, those lawyers are fucking heroes, because a lot of people, they don't know the law and they get in trouble and they could be looking at 5 to 10 years in prison, and they have no knowledge of how to work around a prosecutor or a judge or a public defender that's forcibly assigned to you. Really, they kind of force you to get representation. They don't let you represent yourself. That's the irony of courts. And we talked about that, Dave, the first show we did together. And it's, you know, to me, that is the biggest crutch in the legal system. And you're so right. If we can get all this, you got to go through the bar and get a group of people who are in charge of licensing you to represent people in court. If we could get rid of this, man, it'd be great, because at the end of the day, man, I don't really think it's necessary. I think people are smart and they should be responsible for knowing the law of the land and the country they live in. You know, if you don't know that shit, what are you doing? Anyway, I'm going to let you go because I think you're trying to tell us something on your screen.
Woe betide you lawyers, replied Jesus. You give people heavy loads to carry, which they can hardly bear, and you yourselves don't lift a finger to help.
Wow.
And do you know what the law is? It's the forces governing the land, air, and the water. And what the law's actually for is to bring people back to the good book. Once you're back in the good book, there's a book called The Law and the Promise. And once you've returned to Christ, then the law has no governing forces upon you, because you should know who you are. And I, funnily enough, over the years, I've dealt with and spoke with thousands and thousands of people, like thousands. And I've had people tell me that they're one friend, his son got into a bit of bother with the police.
Yeah.
And they went to see a solicitor in Liverpool. I can't think of the name of the law firm, but this silver-haired solicitor, who was a bit of a London wide boy who'd done the bar, my friend started telling him with his son there, he said, look, we've been researching the common law, the Magna Carta, and this guy just started smiling. He said, look, I can't help you with that. He said, I'm sworn to the bar. He said, however, may I suggest you go and research a guy out there called Dave Witcher? And I said to my friend, shut up. He said, I promise you, Dave, this man mentioned your name. He said, and this guy said, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Dave for what he does. I'm like, how the hell does this solicitor know my name? What has gone on there? And we had one where a friend of mine locally had a court case going on, and we sacked the solicitor, the representation. So the judge made this order, because these judges love making orders, and said he needs a psychological assessment. So it turns out when this French guy come to my friend's house to do this psychological assessment or evaluation, whatever it is you want to call it, and I've turned up looking a bit like a vicar with my Bible. Well, this guy freaked out. And he said, well, what are you here for? I said, I'm here to witness. And this guy froze. And anyway, my friend, it was all good. He presented himself and he won the case, all of his own merit, with a jury. So it was fantastic. Now, 18 months later, this solicitor called Samuel phoned my friend at 2 a.m, drunk. And my friend's picked the phone up. He's gone, you all right? He went, yeah. He said, I couldn't tell you at the time because I'm licensed to the bar.
Right.
He said, everything that you was telling me about your natural rights, the Bible, the common law, he said, absolutely bang on. He said, but I couldn't help you. He said, but I want to let you know here and now. He said, I'm so proud of you for what you've done and what you've achieved by standing in your own truth. He said, and you won't get messed with no more.
Right.
So because he come back to the truth and he knew himself. Like, the law is only there. The governing forces of the land, air, and the water are only there to look after the goyim. And you mentioned Israel and the Jews, the Ashkenazis, whatever it is. Well, I couldn't give them monkeys. They say that we're no better than cows and pigs and we're just feral animals. Well, I've got news for them. We're not, and we are not subservient. We're all created equal. So if we can get back to that basis of we're all equal, everyone's okay. We only ever need a judge when we can't have agreement between the parties. And we need to get back to men on men claims, men on women claims. You know, if we were all left alone to sit in our equity without paying all these exuberant taxes, and the tax system only applied to businesses, people like running pubs, clubs, trade, all that, if it just and left us to live in our private hereditaments without causing us an effect, and we just live private, there'd be enough to go around and our streets wouldn't suffer. And I beg to point that our streets are in a shit state as it is, because we're all being fucking swindled, excuse my French. Everyone in my country has been swindled, and we're at a point now where we're just like seeing and thinking, no, we're not tolerating this no more.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, Dave, is as beautiful as that is, and I always hate being the pessimist in the situation, but the way they did this over the centuries is very calculated, and they knew how they had to do it, so they did it in that regard. And they've got the system set up to where if one person acts out, they can incriminate that person, they can isolate that person, and that scares the crowd mentality, right? And if there is a crowd mentality, they've now shown that they have methods and procedures to even disperse crowds. And so when what you're seeing is the taking them head on, they've literally snatched our ability to take them head on away from us. And it's unfortunate because when you look at the law, when you look at when we had our first interview, Dave, you had shown the actual Magna Carta. Yeah, and you know, so everything is based on that. And here in the U.S., it's really maritime law. It's really based on maritime law, but it's on the land, right? Because it all started on the water, and so this you know, there's conspiracy theories that the bar in the United States is actually a allegiance to Britain, which I don't know, maybe, but I just don't think that makes any sense in regards to.
Here's the thing: Australia, Pakistan, Ceylon, New Zealand, Canada, all think that they're independent.
They're not.
But you go to the courtroom and you look at that crest above the door at Dumont-Droit, they're all still owned by the East India Trading Company.
Yeah. No, the Queen could retain all those territories if she wanted to. Yeah, the Queen could retain all those.
That's all.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
keep giving them.
yeah. The Queen apparently, from what I'm aware of, the penal codes dictate that if the Queen needs to retain those territories and give them back to British rule, she can. You know, Canada. There's clauses within the Canadian government that allow that, and that's why you have the French Canadian territories, and they're pretty crazy. You know, all the political stuff is going on in Ottawa, and then in Vancouver, BC, the west of Canada. And everyone speaks French because there's really no dealing with the people in Quebec. They're fucking radical as shit because they know what it is. They know that Canada is not really free. If at any point the Queen wanted to retain the territories, she could, you know. And the United States, that's what's funny about us, is we're free. But at the same time, the laws set up here, they're different from what you guys have. You guys can actually walk into courts and do what you do. You know, here we have these people, man. Oh, God. It's just so insane. Like, I'll see them get pulled over by cops and they're like, I'm a free inhabitant. I don't follow your laws. I don't need to have a license. I don't need to have to register, you know, and they get their asses beat, you know, they get tased, they get shot. And it's just like, maybe you have some credence. And I see this stuff happen in court too. And rarely do these people win, but in the United States, they get pummeled. They get pummeled because we have such a system of.
They don't actually. They don't actually. I'll give you a prime example of a British woman living in California that's got no driver license, sent it all back, and she gets left alone. And she did a documentary with Jerry Day, an American broadcaster, and he's all on YouTube, and her name is Jackie Fig. And Jackie sent all their stuff back, said, I don't want your bullshit, I'm not interested. She got pulled over once, where a cop had dragged her out of a car, and as her husband drove past, he said, I recognise that arse, because she was bent over the bonnet. But after that day, she's just been left alone. They don't even pull her over no more. She sent it back, their shit. The reason why we get in so much trouble is because we don't know ourselves. We take stuff that's not ours.
Yeah, but see, the problem with that, David, is as much as I love you, is just I have never, in my experience as a student, as a paralegal, I have never, or even working, like I have never seen a situation in my life where someone doesn't get jurisprudence accordingly. Like there's no case in my experience or one that I can research where that has happened. And if she, you know, I'm sure she's done this. I'm not saying you're lying. That's very impressive, and it makes me wonder who her husband is and why the police just.
No, he's got no. Yeah, look, so you should see on your screen now. I've turned the sound off. This is Jackie. She's a British woman. I speak to Jackie not so much at the minute, but we've spent a lot of time on the phone. She lives in California. No driver license, no tax, no insurance, no MOT, no nothing. And here she says how she done it. She gives you the exact through this video that she's done. She tells them what's going on. There's loads of people in America that have gone down this route, but the problem is, it's about putting the cart before the horse. You have to let all these courts know, do they have the power and authority to take God's gift away from you? And to me, they don't have that power.
David, that's so fascinating to me because here's the thing, right? You know, you're talking to someone who knows a lot about this, and the fact that I am not aware of this, and the fact that I'm confidently willing to say there's more to this story than you know, maybe is being told or what's going on, but it's just like that detachment that someone that is so, and this is how you have so many people in industries that are unaware of what's really going on. Because I, like, if someone was to just walk up to me and be like, hey bro, I don't have a license, I don't have insurance, I don't have a vehicle registration, but I bought this car for $500 and it's really cheap and I just want to drive it 3 cities down, should I do it? I'd be like, no. I mean, if you want to, but if you get pulled over, you're gonna have to pay those tickets because you're not driving on a free land. You're not driving on God's land. You're driving on the devil's land. You're driving on a corporate land. You're driving on the United States of America or taxpayers' road. So, hold on one second. By doing that, these police officers can enforce a gun to your head if you don't listen to them. And that's how I've been programmed. That's how I've been educated.
Yeah.
And I can't tell someone to be like, oh yeah, no, shove the Bible in their face and tell them about God. You'll be fine. Do you get what I mean, David?
I do. Like I say, it's about putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
I've watched a documentary by another American guy in California who's traveling down the road in his Chrysler. Can't think of the name of the car was. It was a funny looking car, but he said that he sent all his stuff back to the DMV and deregistered. We've got people in this country now deregistering and not having nothing to do with them, going back to being in the private. Right. And he said that people in California are handing their licenses back like there's no tomorrow. He said that they've all caught onto it. They're all just telling them, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Because they're only operating the contract. The law is, we've got someone else in the room with us.
No, I agree, and Docker just left a comment too, and he's right. It's like, you go to these elite level schoolings, and you go through, you take your LSATs, and you do all this stuff, and you think you're being taught by the cream of the crop, and in reality, it's pretty crazy, And there's so many people that I'm sure they would love to debate this topic right now. Yeah. They can offer a better argument than I could in this current state. But it's at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, now I guess what I would just like to see is more action. If we can actually, what this lady has been able to do, if we can get more of this happening, if we can get more people aware that she was able to do it, I mean, if we're going to talk about a revolution, that's the way to do it, right? Because as of now, I can assure you guys, regardless of my brainwashing or programming, as of now, I can assure you guys, the conviction rate in this country is 99.7 state and federal, 99.7 to 99.8. That means everyone who gets a cuff slapped on them in my country of 300 and some odd million people, 390 million people unofficially, you're going to have to plead a deal. You're going to have to plead to a deal. You're not going to go to trial, because if you go to trial, you're going to end up getting the original sentence, and most likely even more max than the original sentence, because you wasted the court's time and money and had to get a jury.
Do you understand how we got into this mess? Do you understand what the birth certificate is? Have you done some research?
That's what I'm talking about. Is here in the U.S., it's like, I don't know how that works in Europe. I'm sure my one of my cousins is a police officer, and his wife, from what I am aware of, is an attorney. She's a solicitor in England. So I don't really know how exactly it works in Europe, but I can tell you for sure, here in the USA, our social security numbers are literally an indication that we are a property of the state.
You are property of the state, yeah.
But now here's the thing. Now, if we were in court, as much as I love you, Dave, I just botched your argument because of what you just said. If we're the property of the state, how do we have any ability to negotiate? But here's the thing: how do we have any ability to negotiate with a master that is technically an owner of us, because we're the property of it? And that's all I'm saying is, aren't you setting yourself up what they say?
It's about separation. It's about, once you have a deeper understanding of things, what you'll soon realize is that the state only own a piece of paper, which is a bond, right? So whenever the state wants to interact with me now, I tell them not to write to the name, but you just write to that bond number, because that's all it is, and it freaks them out. They're like, I've got a right to a bond number. That is absolute proof of who they're dealing with. Now, it was something we shouldn't have taken. We were all unlawfully converted into that system, and it is a fraud. It's a constructive fraud, because, like, if you passed your test to drive on the road or travel on the road, whichever you want to use it, and say, and the examiner, you're so excited that he said that you can do that. If he turns around and says, by the way, in a few years' time, you might get pulled over by some of our officers, they might drag you out the car and kill you, you would never put your mark. You'd never put your mark on that piece. But you say, no, thanks, mate, for teaching me. I'm just going to go my merry way. Now, we've got a lady in this country who deregistered and this and that, and she got arrested, taken into the cell, and they weren't very nice to her. But the very next morning, they give her her car keys back, and her car was in their car park, she just jumped in it and went home because they didn't have a claim over it. So I understand all law is contract.
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying is like how Durf just said that, you know, if you plead not guilty in England, then you're found guilty. The fine is harsher, the punishment is harsher. And that's my point, that scare tactic that they're using, it's caused, and David, I understand completely everything you're saying. Like, I just want your viewers to know, and I want you to know that in no way, shape, or form am I disagreeing with David here. I'm just trying to make sure we know who our enemy is. That's all I'm saying is, right? Like, because at the end of the day, what Durf just said about how that works in England, here in the United States, it's the same thing. So if you say I am being inaccurately charged, I'm going to fight this. We're going to take this to trial. I'm pleading not guilty. The court's like, all right, you're going to cost us $250,000. Well, our prosecutor is going to increase the fines, increase the charges, and we're going to put a stacked jury on you. So what kind of person are you? Oh, okay, well, let's check his record. What's he got? Oh, he got drunk and hit his wife once. Oh, he has a DUI. Well, how about we get a few mothers who've lost children, right, in these drunk accidents? How about we get a few women on the jury that have been beat by men and are victims of abuse? Right now, what I'm saying is going to set off red flags for anyone that actually is in this field, because they're like, no, that's not how it works. That there's processes that make sure juries are non-biased. Bullshit. This is one of the things that I'm willing to say in the legal system is obviously not happening. Is juries are stacked against defendants all the time. They're not fair juries in any way, shape, or form. So what I'm trying to say is they've got the population in a situation, Dave, where it's like, someone's like, man, I'll just do the 2 months in jail and pay the 800 quid and not do what this guy David Witcher's talking about. When in reality, what David Witcher's talking about, man, if we all started doing this, there would be no more control. There would, like, the world would change overnight. But you know, I mean, I'm such a pessimist these days, Davey. You know what I mean? I'm such a pessimist.
I mean, look, it is what it is. I'm just someone that I walked through the fire. You know, Kent police sent them back all their stuff, told them to do one. Their court system was trying to find me. I told them to fuck off. You don't own me. I'm owned by God. They never come near me. But I didn't care even if they did, because I wasn't prepared to live on my knees no more. I just literally got to the point where living on my knees was not a fucking option, and I wasn't going to bow to these bastards no more. Excuse my French. I wasn't. I thought, fuck it, I don't care. They can have the body. They're not having my soul. They're not having my soul. And as soon as I took that hard line and started telling them to fuck off and leave me alone, they backed up. They're like, what's going on here? It's like their computer said no. The computer. I broke their computer a little bit. And like I say, we're known in law firms. They know my name. How and why, I would have no idea. But secretly, deep down, I think they kind of like quite like the fact that people are now like, yeah, we're not having this no more. We're not fucking living like this. We're not slaves. Slavery was a bad thing. It was an abolishment. But here we are, regardless of race, creed, or colour. We're all slapped in a fucking slavery system again. And we're all trying to get out of it. But the simple fact is the way
I would die for you, brother. I'm not even sucking up to you. Like, I would die for you, bro. But it's just like, you know, this is what I feel like. I feel like you and I would be the only people on the street ready to die. Like, that's just how I feel. And the 29 people watching us, you know, like this is the problem. If we were the 30 people watching, if we were like, you know, I don't know, if we were talking about sex and drugs and dumb stuff that's like decaying the mind of the youth and you know, like catchy stuff, there would be hundreds of thousands of people watching us, and we would have so much access to so many things in the world, and people would line up behind us for any movement we followed. And so it's just
they are, man. They are. Trust me, this country's turning out now. The people they're turning out in this country like you've got no tomorrow. And listen, if England frees itself, it frees the world.
Yeah, I hope so, man.
We free everywhere. We free Pakistan, Sudan, America, Canada, United States. We free the world, because it all, for some stupid reason, it all starts and ends in this stupid poxy little country. And I can't fathom how such a small island surrounded by sea could ever. And look at the royal family now. You know, look at what we're seeing. We've got police constables leaving the job now. John Wedger exposing all the paedophile stuff that's going on. And they said to John, keep your mouth shut, have a nice life. He said, no, fuck it, I'm not. I know what you lot have been doing. You've been shagging kids, and I'm not staying quiet. So we've got people in the system now. I give a talk a few years ago in Dalston, and this guy come up and sat next to me who was MI6. And he said, oh, so Dave Witcher. I went, hello, bruv, you all right? Do you want a drink? And he went, I said, oh, you're MI6. Am I going to end up in a body bag like a few of the others? He just laughed at me. He said, you got something about you. He said, you just got away. He said, you got no worries from us. He said, what you must understand, if you want to, he said, that within our stations, we have 50% of good souls and 50% of dark. He said, but we are making waves now where the good is prevailing. He said, and we actually respect you, and for you on your own just to stand up and say, fuck it, all bets are off, we're getting our country back. He said, we don't know who you are, where you're from, but we encourage you to carry on. Now, I'm not against them, you know.
David, I gotta tell you, because I'm gonna lose I'm watching the chat and then I'm gonna forget, and I'll never forgive myself, because you said, why does it all end up in England? Here's some more Masonic knowledge. So the psychological operation that's occurring in England right now is an age-old plan. Not just in England, but it's the West, really, Western Europe. And Albert Pike talks about it in his book, The Morals and Dogma, which he wrote. He wrote in the early 1800s. He talks about all three world wars, the two that have already happened, how they would happen, and then the third one that's about to happen. And when you look into Islam, and you look into the people of Islam, and you look into Mecca and Medina and the black cube of Saturn that people go and visit, you know, it's their holy location. There is some deep, profound, there is some deep, profound connection to the Antichrist and Islam, and it's scary. It's really scary, and I don't mean that in the sense that Islam is the people of the Antichrist. No. More so that Islam, they actually have the very similar story that the Bible has in the Quran, that Imam Mahdi, who is Jesus Christ, they don't think he's a Messiah, but they think he's a prophet, will come back and he will win the war against evil, against the Dajjal. And the Dajjal is the devil in Arabic. And Dajjal means the one-eyed monster, the one-eyed prince, right? And when you look into the old stories of Islam, when Arabia was the center of mathematics, when Arabia was the center of, Baghdad was the center of wisdom in the world, before the Mongols wiped them out, there were a few travelers that were told they needed to go west to find Muhammad, right? And Muhammad wasn't alive at the time, but they needed to learn where he would come. And obviously, you know, Mecca, Medina, that's where, dude, like, much west from where they were, which I think was closer to India. And so they went and trekked west, and they went too far. They went past where Muhammad would be born, but they ended up on an island. And the man had warned them. He said, if you go too far, the waters, they'll be too strong. And back then, the earth, the shape of the earth, you know, who knows? Like, these are stories of old, right? So like, we've been told of Pangea and then different formations and stuff. So it's like, we don't really know what the maps and formations and how people traveled then would have been, and what they thought where what was. But the island in discussion was the United Kingdom. And basically, the man warned them that if they wanted to truly find out about the coming of Muhammad, that on that island is where they would know, not by talking to the people in that area where Mecca and Medina is. So they, instead of like trying to look around in where Saudi Arabia is now, they just keep going. They just keep going. And they end up hitting this island, which is England. And on this island in England, there's a lot of lush forestry. It rains a lot. That's how you know it's England. And they find a beast in a cave, right? Like, I don't know how they got there. It's just what the story is in the Islamic culture. And the beast is covered in chains, and he has one eye, right? And he says that, I'm chained right now. I can't hurt you, but you can hurt me. So whatever you're going to ask me wisely, because one day these chains will come off me. And that story hit me home hard because as a kid who went to Catholic school, as someone who's very involved with this stuff and just in general, I've always been in tune with these things. The story of King Solomon, the Temple of Solomon, to this day is one of the most beautiful temples created to revere God. King Solomon's in the Bible, and King Solomon had the Temple of Solomon built with the tools that were not of humans. If you actually look up the Ars of Goetia, the Temple Keys of Solomon, it's the 72 Ars of Goetia. It's the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia that King Solomon summoned to have the Temple of God built. King Solomon's temple. King Solomon was a very wise and powerful king of his time, and he did not want humans to build this temple. And so when he had summoned these demons, he was a great magician. He knew the spiritual world, and he summoned these 72 demons of the Ars Goetia: Asmodeus, Astaroth, Magog, Gog, like all these names you hear about that were like, oh, Bush, that's Magog possessing Bush and shit, right? This man summoned them all and commanded them, as David says, I am the creator. I was created by the creator. I am the creation. You will listen to me. And they listened. But you know what they told him? They said, we'll build this for you. We'll listen to you. But while we're under your control right now and we're listening to you, know this, your time is also short. You have to die. And then we're in control. So speak to us wisely, old king. Speak to us wisely. Don't disrespect us. This is what the Dajjal, the one-eyed king, the one-eyed prince, told these Muslims as well. That I'm in chains for now. So you can hurt me. So ask me whatever questions you want, but be careful, right? So they ask him, when is the Prophet Muhammad coming? When is this? When is that? Blah, blah, blah. He's answering all their questions. And then he's asking them, are there still dates in Saudi Arabia? Are there still dates in Iran and Persia? Dates is a type of vegetable, a fruit that grows in that area. And really, really tasty stuff. Yeah, you've had dates before, right? Yeah. And so, he said, when the dates stop growing there, I will be ruling this world. Now, if you look in that part of the world, dates don't grow there anymore. In those areas, they're not they have to really force dates to grow there now, as in comparison to during those times, dates would grow so much. It was crazy how much they would grow. And so that's one really creepy thing about that story. And then two, he says, wherever I shall go, the world will be the pinnacle, right? So they took all these things from him. They took all this information and they left. And then when they left and he told them to leave, he told them one thing. He said, when your Muhammad comes, when Jesus Christ, when all these people come, they need to know that I will not be able to enter their holy cities. So what he was saying was, Makkah and Medina, I will not be able to enter them. Jerusalem, I will not be able to enter them. But I will visit the entire world within 72 hours. Airplanes, politicians, Antichrist. I will see every people and they will all worship me, but I will not be able to go into these three holy cities, right? Outside of Medina is a giant place. And Dave, if you could look this up and put it on the screen, it's called the Dajjal Habsi. Al-Dajjal Habsi. Dajjal space Habsi. There's a video of it on YouTube. There's pictures of it that Arabic people living in that area have taken of this hill that overlooks Makkah and Medina, just like he told these Muslim guys, the Dajjal did. And this road, David, that goes up to it, it takes, I would imagine, at least 25 minutes to go up this road. So whoever's coming up there, you can see. And if you're trying to run away, it's going to take you a long time. So you're not going anywhere. And this mansion has like 3 helipads, 3 Olympic swimming pools, right? The Dajjal Habsi, the Dajjal's mansion, right? And
is it Dajjal?
Dajjal, Dajjal, A-L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Habsi.
Yeah, Habsi, BSI, yeah, Dajjal Habsi. Are you finding anything?
Let's have a look.
It's going to be this giant infrastructure on top of a hill. So anyway, this place, there's nobody living in it. Oh my God, there it is. I love you, David. Dude, Dave, you and I need to just start a podcast, bro. You're the best. You're the best. Holy crap. Look at this guy. Dave Witcher's a legend. So that right there, God, no, I love this stuff because as a young kid that's trying to wake people up, and like I'll have fucking fake accounts and haters be like, "Oh, you're fake, you're a liar, you're not even a lawyer, you're not even a Mason," and it just gets under my fucking skin because it's just like, dude, like I'm trying to wake you guys up. Anyway, so this is proof right here. That's the Dajjal hub seat. That literally is empty right now, and there's constant security there, and it just doesn't make any sense who's paying for it. And there's a lot of theories that rich people believe in these things so much that they want prophecy to come true, so they pay for it, you know what I mean? And it's
Should we have a listen? Let's listen to what they said.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right video, but yeah, let's do it. Does it say Dajjal Hubsi?
It says the Dajjal Palace in Saudi Arabia. What is going to happen?
Perfect. Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if we should listen to all 10 minutes, but yeah, sure. Oh, he's speaking Hindi. He's speaking Hindi. I don't think you guys are going to understand that.
So, okay, you can talk us through this then, maybe.
Well, no, I mean, he's saying everything I just told you guys. He's saying literally everything I just told you guys, and I'm sure he will for the next 8 minutes. So can you forward the video to the part where he actually shows it and he isn't talking about reality and everything? Just so everybody could get a look at it. That's the Dajjal. You see that right there? That's the Dajjal. You see that Jesus looking dude with one eye? Yeah, that's supposed to be, and on his forehead it's supposed to say kafir, which means disbeliever, non-believer.
Kafir, yeah.
And people like you, Dave, are going to be able to see that sign on his forehead, and non-believers, people that are lost in this world, will believe him. They will think he's the greatest thing ever. That's why people like Donald Trump are quite scary. That's why people like Barack Obama are scary. It's like when you get these very charismatic people that are wooing the world, it's like, who are they really, you know? Anyway, so the Dajjal stayed in that island forever, and what happened? Rule Britannia. Britannia ruled the waves, right? And then as England started to crumble during World War II, and Winston Churchill had to scramble to make decisions to ensure that the British pound, the great British sterling, would still be powerful, which it is today. One British sterling is worth nearly $1.75, which is so impressive considering how small you guys are. But like, you know, Winston Churchill knew that it was either that or keep all the territories and go into debt and collapse the empire that way. So he did what he thought was best at the time. Some people think he was evil, some people think he was good, some people think he was a sellout, some people think he was the best. It's up for debate. But he did do that for that reason. And during that time, America was supplying Britain so much with war weapons, ammunition, and all the goods that they needed, that Britain had to make a trade. And the trade that Britain made, I to this day believe, was that they handed over, not just, there was a document that was handed over, it was called the Golden Ark document, right? And the idea that they called it the Golden Ark, and then you have the Ark of the Covenant, the Dajjal, right? Wherever the Ark of the Covenant goes, the knights win, right? The Ark of the Covenant would do these weird things like make armies that you are going to war with sick. Like there's stories of the Ark of the Covenant, you know, John Ark, yeah. So whatever the Ark of the Covenant is a very powerful device if it's technological, you know, and the Dajjal ties in with it. And so the Golden Ark was a suitcase, is what we're told by historians, that the British intelligence gave to the CIA. And it was basically to give America an edge on technology that the British had at the time. So the British really married us during World War II in a diplomatic way, where the English and America became one. And if you see our military actions and you see our diplomatic actions, the US and England are literally side by side. They're like twins, right? So it has everything to do with that Golden Ark transfer. But what's creepy about the Golden Ark transfer is the Bermuda Triangle, which is where a lot of people believe the Dajjal is now, the Antichrist, waiting to be unchained. And it's right next to Florida, where Amelia Earhart went missing, where so many other planes, so many other military. There was a civilian plane in the early 80s that flew from New Jersey and was coming down towards Florida, but it got caught in gusts and ended up in the Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic Ocean, which is like in between Cuba and if you could look up Bermuda Triangle, that'd be awesome, Dave. And you know, just pictures of it on a map would be probably best. And this area of water is so rough that things have gone missing there, ships have gone missing there, and nobody like has been able to find it, man. And this guy that was flying out of New Jersey, he somehow ended up in the Bermuda Triangle, and while he was on radio, he was talking, and like Within, I think, 5 minutes, he had trekked 600 miles, Dave. And this was a propeller. This was a propeller civilian plane in the 80s. So something really weird happened, and there's so much evidence of this. People say aliens. People say all this, blah 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 blah. You know, it's crazy to me that people don't talk about the fact that there it is, right there, that body of water exists, and that may well be where they are keeping the Dajjal, the Antichrist. Because think about this: after World War II, which country was left in somewhat of a surplus, with more military bases than everybody else around the world, with less of a deficit than everybody else, less people lost than everybody else, definitely less people lost than the Russians, and was the only country with nuclear weaponry in a very unique position to negotiate with the rest of the world? The United States. And by that time, the Dajjal would have been in the United States, if what I'm saying is true, right? So it's really all speculative at this point, but I think it's a very, very evidential that you can see the evidence before you. It makes sense. I mean, the U.S. is, after World War II, has become the strongest empire to ever exist in the history of empires, and sadly, it's falling apart right now because of everything going on. But I mean, there's that, right? And there's someone in the comment that said we gave the U.S. our nuclear secrets, which I just have to say, Strong Angel, I know you're very smart and I love you. Thank you for being here. You help me on Wake Up UK's post a lot and support me when I need you. The nuclear secrets, although Britain gave us a lot of nuclear secrets, according to the official narrative, Albert Einstein ran away and snitched on the Nazis and basically told Oppenheimer and the good old boys in America that Hitler was going to nuke everybody. So we created the Manhattan Project and started testing nukes in New Mexico, near Albuquerque. And we developed them, and then we were the first ones to do it. But the thing is I don't really know what that is there, because when you look at Operation Paperclip and you see how we just took all the good Nazis, brought them here, created NASA, Werner von Braun directed the moon landings, right? The same guy who was responsible for bombing London for 2 weeks with V rockets. I just don't know who to trust anymore. I don't know who's right, who's wrong. And then you have flat earthers saying that, you look up these operations, Operation Fishbowl, Operation Dominique, where they were shooting nukes into the atmosphere. They were literally shooting nukes into the atmosphere. And then they started saying that hairspray was putting holes in the ozone in the 90s. Like, it wasn't those bombs you guys were trying to, And then that whole thing about the firmament on Werner von Braun's grave, talk about dying with guilt for deceiving people. Like, what if we are on a enclosed space where it's just us and there's no infinite universe, and we really are the most important creation ever, and everything we do means so much, and God wants us to love and nurture each other, but the devil's convinced us we're just like fucking monkeys in the jungle but evolved, so why care? Just get what you need and get out of the way, right?
I'm just gonna see if I can get up Werner von Braun's headstone.
Oh God, yeah. It's something else, man. His assistant was the one that wrote the book that he had her talk about that. And now what's crazy is now she's working for Dr. Stephen Greer, who's on this project that's like exposing aliens and how we've been working with aliens for a long time and stuff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer, but Joe Rogan does not trust him. Eddie Bravo doesn't trust him. I don't trust him. I think anything with aliens is just weird, because Werner von Braun actually said that go to Google Images. Go to Google Images and just type in Werner von Braun gravestone. Because that's the best way to do it, because then that's non-biased. We just want a picture of the gravestone and you'll see that it's right there. No CGI, no nothing. No bias search, none of that.
Werner, V-E-H-N-U-R?
V, I thought it was V, Werner. Oh, I think it is W. Yeah, Werner von Braun. Yeah, Werner von Braun. Yeah, just do von V-O-N Braun. Yeah, there you go. Werner Con Braun. He was a con. But yeah, I mean, it's guys. It's when you see that the people running the world are so. Yeah, that's him. That's him. Do gravestone. Hit that blue link to correct it. It's just right above. So just scroll up a little bit.
Hang on. I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
funeral.
Yeah, hit that. So where it says showing results for Werner von Braun, just click that real quick so it fixes the name. There you go. And then you want to put gravestone right after Braun. Space gravestone.
Isn't this his gravestone here?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Can you scroll down? Oh, what are you doing?
I don't know.
No, go back. Go back. You clicked. Don't do that. You were supposed to scroll down. You're fine. Click out of that though. That's you just went into another website.
Right, so go down this one, yeah?
Hey, okay, now scroll down a little. No, not to the left, to the left. To the left, to the left. Every time I come around, to the left. To the left, the white side, David. Come on. I know you're a technophobe. There we go. Okay, yeah. And then now scroll down a little bit. Like just use the scroll on the mic mouse. So
Hang on.
just hit that gravestone where it says 19. Okay, that's not it. Okay.
This one.
Just you see where it says Werner von Braun on the search bar? Just click
1912, 1977, Psalms 1911.
Yeah, okay. Now can you put that in the search bar? Psalms 19 is it 19:1 or 19:11? God damn it.
19, PSALMS. Well, I could tell you it because I've
Yeah, you're the guy.
The heavens declare. Hang on, the heavens.
It's for that reason Werner von Braun chose, with his advancing terminal illness, a modest gravestone to cite one of his favorite passages of scripture. His gravestone reads Werner von Braun, 1912, 1977, 1901, the scripture that says, "The heavens are telling the glory of God and the firmament proclaims his handiwork."
Amen. There you go.
Right? So think about that for a second. What does that mean? Like, what was he the first troll in the history of internet trolls before the internet was even out, or was he trying to tell us something?
Yeah, giving us a message.
Yeah, and a lot of people have the nerve to say that he was taunting religious people because he invented rocketry and he got people to the moon and stuff, and I don't think so. I think he was guilty. He felt guilty, so he wanted to leave a message,
Yeah, I agree. Now, Buzz Aldrin, some guy went up to him a few years ago. I think Buzz had a few pints, and he said, "Buzz," he said, "I've got a Bible here." He said, "Will you swear? Put your hand on it and swear that you've been on the moon or been in space." and he swung a punch at him. Buzz Aldrin swung a punch, and then a little while later, Buzz, giving a lecture to a load of kids at school, come out and said, "No one's been in space or been on the moon." So who knows? I mean, personally, and we can't discredit Werner von Braun because this geezer was he was a very high ranking Nazi, and he was in charge of their rockets. There you go. There's a picture of von Braun here, and there he is, probably at NASA. So here he is at NASA after escaping Berlin or wherever he was. Now the Vatican got rid of loads and dispersed loads of Nazis around the world, and I truly believe that Hitler died in Argentina. Right? I'm pretty. He never died in some bunker.
Have you heard of Operation Icebreaker with Admiral Byrd? He came on TV.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? That this guy was on TV talking about how Antarctica has more resources than the entire American continent.
Well, they bugged out. They bugged out. He said there was things coming out of the ocean firing lasers at him. He said, "So we got going."
Yeah, dude, they lost so many of their people, and they didn't even talk about how many men were lost. It's crazy because it was like, why were they lost? Was it the Nazis? Well, no, it wasn't. Well, what was it then? So they just didn't talk about it because they knew they had to tell everybody. And not just that, man. What's scary about that whole thing, more than anything to me, is the fact that this man probably knew everything that was going on, and he didn't. Yeah, there he is, legend himself, Richard E. Byrd. You want to talk about a real life Indiana Jones, man?
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. This guy saw some shit, dude, and lost half of his men, came back on live TV, and the only thing he could really say was, "We need to check out Antarctica. I don't know why we're not doing it. There's so many resources there." And what's creepy about Antarctica is if you actually look into Antarctica, it's all federal. Like, you can't, there's tours that take you on the outskirts of it and come back, but you cannot go inside. There's a federal United Nations like hotel set up there. I don't know what it's called, but political leaders around the world go to vacate there, and it's so fucking weird. And the excuse is that it's like a diplomatically immune type of meeting place for political leaders to talk no holds barred, and to me, it's like, what are they doing over there? Who are they meeting in Antarctica? If there's someone there giving them direction. And then I started looking into it, and every freaking president, even Trump, after he was sworn in, went to Antarctica to that hotel. Obama went, Bush went, Clinton went. And so like I'm like, what? And then I look into prime ministers. Blair went, right? I'm sure Boris is gone now too. There's something really crazy about Antarctica, guys. And some people say Greenland too. That Greenland is like they're lying about Greenland, and it has a lot of underground bases there and stuff. And yeah, I mean, Dave, it's like when you start realizing these things, it's so easy to just go with the crazy cop out, you know. But the reality of it is we've been lied to, man. Like, you want to talk about red pilling, like the Matrix, you know, that's why these new generations, they have all these quirky little, you want to get red pilled, and it's because in that movie when Morpheus offers him the blue pill and he just wakes up in the morning again with his shitty office job, or you take the red pill and you really wake up, and he wakes up in this fucking pod, you know, he wakes up in this pod and he's like a protein pod for some kind of energy source. And it's just crazy to me because people want to say, oh, the AI is bad, the robots are bad. But in reality, it's really like the robots are doing the most humane thing, because the humans created the robots and fucked the world up. And now the robots, the Sentinels, they're like, well, what are we going to do? We can't just make them go extinct. Well, let's put them in these little protein pods, use their body, their energy for electricity, and make them feel like they're living this amazing life where they eat steak and drive nice cars and shit, you know? And then when they wake up, the Sentinel comes over, he grabs Neo, and he's like, oh, geez, we got another one. Yeah, we got to unscrew him, throw him down the sewers. He's we got a live one, you know? It's like the robots are just doing what is the right thing with our shitty asses, you know, because we fucked the world up. So we're truly living in a matrix. It's insane.
We are just coming up to 3 hours, young man. And we can call it quits there today, because I've got food to grow. I've just pulled out, I've just clipped off some cow, and I'm growing my own veggies and stuff at the minute. So we're eating all our own food that we're growing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, give a man a fish for it and he can eat for a day, but teach a man to fish and he can eat forever.
Amen.
So yeah, we'll get to 3 and then we'll continue this another time. AJ, you're just such an inspiration, man, and I enjoy this. I've got an inward smile, man. Like, you got no tomorrow. And my brother loves all the bits and bobs with Werner von Braun and the war he loves. So hopefully he'll watch some of this and go, oh, well. So, you know, maybe
I cannot express how grateful I am to my Lord Christ for introducing me to you. And again, thank you, Jeremy Poole. Thank you, Jason. Dave, you are an amazing person. And I said it before, I'll say it until I die. People like you need to be put on a pedestal, man. Someone who's not afraid to talk about God, the word of God, the fact that we are only to be judged by our Lord and Savior and not these satanic scumbags that have created this system that our brothers and sisters are falling for, you know. Thank you guys so much. And everybody in the chat, it's an amazing experience to know that there's other people that are alive and understand, and I'm not crazy, and I'm not, you know, a victim of psychological trauma or something. Like, this is all real, and my witness testimonials line up exactly with what you guys have got feelings about, you know.
Amen. AJ, I love you like a brother. Keep it real, son. Let's salute. You do the Marine one, I'll do the British one. That's it.
All right.
I'll be in touch with you soon.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys. God bless you guys. Dave Witcher forever, man. Dave Witcher, long live.
Thanks everyone for tuning in and joining in today. AJ, I'll get hold of you on WhatsApp, and we'll do some other stuff as well on Be Live and stuff like that. So we'll keep it going, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Alrighty, will do, Dave. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. God bless.